Chapter 1010, 9 Heavens Gang Wind, Divination Calculation. Chapter 1010, Chapter 360, 9 Heavens Gang Wind, Divination Calculation. Through the starlight, an endless expanse unfolded, with surging astral winds sweeping across as if to tear everything apart. Lu Wangshu suddenly looked towards Lu Changxing, feeling bewildered, and asked, "Daddy, where are we?" "This is the 9th heavenly gang wind layer." Lu Changxing set his daughter down and stood on the starlight plate, saying so. 9th heavenly gang wind layer? Lu Wangshu blinked in astonishment, then with her little mouth agape, she exclaimed in surprise, "Could this be the 9th heavenly gang wind layer that only nascent soul immortals can enter, as mentioned in the books?" "Daddy, so you are a nascent soul immortal?" Lu Wangshu looked at Lu Changxing, her face filled with surprise and delight, her sparkling eyes full of dependence and admiration. It was then she belatedly realized, recalling the old man who had captured her, that he could very well be a nascent soul immortal. And if her own daddy had managed to rescue her safely, he must certainly be a nascent soul immortal too. She wasn't too shocked by this revelation, but merely smiled with curved eyes, looking content as she said, "You truly are my daddy. By the way, Daddy, does that old man have a grudge against you? Did he kidnap me to threaten you?" Lu Wangxing continued to ask. She had never met that old man. Moreover, the man had attacked her without saying a word, which left her baffled, causing her to think he might bear a grudge against her daddy. Stop there, I'm not a nascent soul immortal. I've come to the 9th heavenly gang wind layer merely by the aid of magical treasures," Lu Changxing said, stopping his daughter from continuing that train of thought. "As for that old man, I don't know him either. It must have been a chance encounter, and he took an interest in your blood talisman's spiritual body," he ensured she wouldn't ponder further. "I see." Lu Wangshu felt a bit let down upon hearing this. She had thought herself to be the second generation of an immortal. After all, walking around with a daddy who was a nascent soul immortal would give her much face. Nevertheless, she didn't care too much and, standing on the starlight plate, she looked around and said, "So this is what the 9th heavenly gang wind layer looks like. You'd better be careful, even a slight brush from the 9th heavenly gang wind could end you." Lu Changxing glanced at his daughter, seeing her curious baby look, and warned her. "Daddy, don't scare me. Your precious daughter has just been kidnapped, and her tender heart suffered trauma, in need of comfort." Lu Wangshu pouted and asked, clinging tightly to her daddy's arm, "Daddy, where are we going?" In her eyes, the 9th heavenly gang wind layer was a vast expanse of nothingness, with the situation unclear. "That old man is a demonic path cultivator and was in a gravely injured state. I suspect he was being pursued and murdered, so to avoid trouble and getting noticed, he came to the 9th heavenly gang wind layer," Lu Changxing explained. His eyes were profound, shining like stars. He looked through the mists of the astral winds, overlooking the mountains and lands below. However, at such a height, even he could only discern an approximate outline and was unable to pinpoint a precise location. "Oh, I see." Lu Wangshu obediently clung to her father's arm, realizing the trouble she had caused him. Then, Lu Changxing took out Black Crow True Immortal's storage ring and started to sort through and inspect it. The 9th heavenly gang wind layer, apart from being a convenient place for travel and picking up treasures, was also an excellent place to dispose of ill-gotten gains. Thus, in the gang wind layer, the treasures occasionally found may be objects discarded by others. Several hours later, several rays of rainbow light descended from the high heavens and arrived in front of a charred and broken cavern. "Buswanzi, are you certain that Black Crow Old Demon is here?" A crane-haired, child-faced old man clad in a simple gray robe looked at the scene before him and spoke with a grave expression. "There are traces of a battle here, and when I previously used divination to investigate Black Crow Old Demon's situation, I foretold that this man faced a great omen of danger, which seems to indicate that his luck is more on the side of disaster than fortune," said an adjacent old man with a withered face and white hair and beard, dressed in a black Taoist robe, his voice hoarse and aged. A fortune revealing great danger signified a 9 in 10 chance of life-threatening peril. Disaster is more likely than fortune. The gray-robed old man's expression turned somewhat unsightly upon hearing this. He had paid a significant price to engage Buswanzi to ascertain Black Crow true immortal circumstances. But now, with Black Crow Old Demon dead, that indicated yet another twist in events. The more uncertainties that arose, the harder it would become for him to reclaim the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus. The gray-robed old man materialized a white treasure bead in his hand and infused it with mana. The bead spun rapidly in the air, absorbing all the spiritual mechanism essences in the vicinity, searching for clues. This is fire and corpse energy? After a moment, the gray-robed old man inspected the 2 strands of essence within the white bead and furrowed his brow. He pondered which renowned nascent soul immortal specialized in fire and corpse refinement techniques. The Heavenly Corpse sect possesses a divine skill known as Heavenly Een Corpse Fire, but rumor has it that only the sect master of the Heavenly Corpse sect has mastered it. Moreover, this trace of fiery essence is domineering and doesn't resemble a Een fire. The gray-robed old man looked at the spiritual mechanism essences within the bead, his mind racing, unable to match them with anyone. After all, who cultivates both a yang-driven domineering flame as well as the corpse path? He turned towards Buswanzi and politely said, "Buswanzi, I would like to request your help to cast a divination and deduce the person who killed Black Crow Old Demon. Rest assured, I, or Qingyun sect, will owe you a favor for this," stated the gray-robed old man earnestly. Divination could deduce the heavenly secrets, subtly predict personal fortunes and misfortunes, and the circumstances of others. But not only did this practice require immense talent and ability, but the cultivation process also came at a significant cost. It not only drained one's mental energy but could also reduce one's lifespan and fortune. Therefore, even though he was a supreme elder of Qingyun sect, to engage Buswanzi's services, he had to promise heavy rewards and favor. "Venerable Gu Yun, although Black Crow Old Demon was heavily injured by your pursuit, his strength is not to be underestimated. This person, who managed to find Black Crow Old Demon before us and kill him, clearly possesses no ordinary strength." Chapter 10:11, 9 Heavenly Winds, Divination Calculation. Chapter 10:11, Chapter 360, 9 Heavenly Winds, Divination Calculation. Buswanzi's voice was hoarse as he spoke. He had performed divinations for many people and knew that divination did not always yield results. Even if there were results, they might be rather vague, offering only a general direction. If the other party still wanted him to make a move, he was willing to comply. However, he had to state in advance that even if he did not derive any useful information, it was not his responsibility, and the other party would still owe him a favor. "Please make a move, my friend. Regardless of success or failure, the Qingyun sect will be grateful." The gray-robed elder understood and responded with a cupped fist salute. The value of the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus alone was worth a favor. Moreover, the sudden appearance of Black Crow Old Demon in the Tianyuan secret realm was one thing. Now, another mysterious person had intercepted and killed Black Crow Old Demon, making him suspect that the matter was not simple. He suspected that an invisible powerful force was scheming against his Qingyun sect, particularly regarding the Tianyuan secret realm. Thus, he needed to clarify this matter. "All right." Buswanzi nodded upon hearing this. He took out a turtle shell and channeled the essence of spiritual energy from a white treasure bead into the shell. Then, with one hand performing a gesture incantation and the other tossing several copper coins, he began the divination. After a long while. Buswanzi furrowed his brows, feeling an invisible resistance during the process of divination. There were 3 possible explanations. First, the target might be adept in divinatory skills, confusing the heavenly secrets, or someone might be concealing the heavenly secrets on their behalf. Second, the target's fate could be extraordinary, and divining it might require a certain price. Third, the target could possess some kind of treasure that blocked divinatory efforts. With his hands still in a gesture incantation, he took out a bamboo tube from his storage bag, shook several bamboo slips to try deriving a vague direction. Yet at this moment, not only did he fail to obtain any information, but a foreboding omen also rose in his heart. He knew that continuing the divination would not only reduce his lifespan and fortune but could also entangle him in problematic karma. As a diviner, the first rule was to remain uninvolved and not invite any karmic trouble. He immediately ceased his efforts, his face pale and his breath weak, as he said hoarsely to the gray-robed elder, "Ancient Cloud, am powerless in this matter." The gray-robed elder's face turned visibly unpleasant upon hearing this. He had not expected that the divination would yield no results at all. "Ancient Cloud, during my divination just now, I immediately faced an invisible resistance. I tried to probe further and even sensed an ominous omen, indicating that this person is no ordinary individual, either possessing remarkable strength or belonging to some major power." Bu Swansea declared his inability to proceed. An ominous omen, Ancient Cloud Immortal pondered upon hearing this. Yet seeing Bu Swansea's expression and weak aura, he knew these were not empty words. He solemnly nodded and said with a cupped fist, "It must have been difficult for you, friend." At this point, he was almost certain of his guess. The mysterious individual who had killed Black Crow Old Demon was well prepared. It seemed likely that this person had been targeting the Tianyuan secret realm and the Tianyuan Lotus for some time. Even Black Crow Old Demon's presence in the Tianyuan secret realm might be related to this person. Who exactly is this person, and from which power does he come? It's possible that he intentionally left behind flame and deathly aura to affect our judgment, Ancient Cloud Immortal speculated in his mind. At this moment, he knew that the matters of the Tianyuan secret realm could not be monopolized by his Qingyun sect. They must expose this secret realm. Otherwise, it could bring trouble to their Qingyun sect. In the 9th Heavenly Gang Wind Layer, Lu Changxing was sorting through Black Crow True Immortal's storage ring, unaware that he was currently being divined. He looked at the shuttle in his hand, misty as a crow, and shook his head. "It seems this person was more seriously injured before than I had thought. Not only is the true elixir dim, but the magical treasures are also fundamentally damaged." Although such treasures were of no use to him, a damaged treasure would be significantly less effective if used for his children. After pondering for a moment, he took out a jade plate-sized lotus that looked like an immaculate gem. The lotus, despite being plucked, emanated a vibrant life force. The translucent petals shimmered with radiant lights, as if harboring divine energies, filled with an immensely pure spiritual energy. Lu Changxing, though unfamiliar with the lotus, could tell it was extraordinary. The roots are damaged, but its vitality is preserved by a freezing chill. If taken home sooner, it might have a chance to be revived and continue growing, Lu Changxing quietly thought. Due to Zhao Qingqing and Lu Miaoyun being second-order spiritual planters. In previous years, his son had brought back many spirit plants and spiritual medicines from the Purple Shadow secret realm. Thus, he had garnered much knowledge about spirit plants. Recognizing that the lotus must have been harvested by Black Crow True Immortal, who preserved its vitality. "Daddy, what a beautiful lotus flower," Lu Wangshu exclaimed upon seeing the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, her eyes brimming with fascinating colors. "Yes, it is indeed beautiful." Lu Changxing glanced at his daughter, nodded, and tucked the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus back into the storage ring, planning to take his daughter out for a few days before heading home. Later, he would ask Ling Zixiao and Hong Lian if they knew what this lotus was. "This lotus is currently frozen, and its vitality hindered. It's not suitable for handling now." Seeing his daughter puffing her cheeks while looking at him, Lu Changxing poked her rosy cheeks and said with a smile. Then, riding on the starlight plate, he dove down from the 9th Heavenly Gang Wind. Navigating the starlight plate in the 9th Heavenly Gang Wind had also drained him substantially. Chapter 10-12, 9 Heavens Gang Wind, Divination Calculation. _4 Chapter 10-12, Chapter 360, 9 Heavens Gang Wind, Divination Calculation. _4 Had it not been for the profound origin bead by his side, his mana would have almost run out by now. And for Lu Wangshu, the 9th Heavenly Gang Wind layer was vast and monotonous, extremely dull and boring. Moments later, Lu Changxing and his daughter arrived above a mountain range, where he took out a map to check their current location. Just then, he heard some commotion a few miles away, where a ferocious demon tiger was pursuing 2 energy-refining cultivators. Swish! Seeing this, Lu Changxing flicked his fingers as if they were a sword, and a sword chi spell tore through the air, shooting out and piercing through the demon tiger's head with a bloody hole, cause its agonized collapse to the ground. Thank you, Senior. Thank you for the rescue, Senior. The two energy refining cultivators were startled, then saw Lu Changsheng and Lu Wangshu in midair, and immediately knelt down and shouted. Daddy, now you're just like the immortals in the storyteller's books who slay demons, dispel evils, and save the world. Lu Wangshu flattered her own father. Heh, Lu Changsheng chuckled softly. He might not consider himself a good person, but when encountering such matters, he was willing to help. Daddy, was that a sword technique you just used? And what about that light and the flame you used when you saved me? Lu Wangshu asked. Only today did she realize that she knew nothing about her father's strength or methods. Why, you want to learn? Lu Changsheng raised an eyebrow and replied when he saw his daughter's curious look. He knew his daughter's curiosity. People just want to see, Daddy. When you made your entrance, you were surely handsome and imposing, dashing and extraordinary, but I missed it all and only saw a dazzling light and purple-red flame. Lu Wangshu said playfully, with an innocent and pleasing face. Well, I'll show you. Lu Changsheng chuckled softly, lifting his palm slightly, and a purple-red flame with spark-like arcs appeared in his hand. Inside it, a flood dragon, resembling both a snake and a dragon, flickered in and out of view, exuding a fierce and overpowering aura. Daddy, what spell is this? I want to learn. Lu Wangshu said immediately upon seeing the flame before her. This can only be learned by those with exceptional talent. You can't learn it. Lu Changsheng had anticipated his daughter's reaction and spoke directly. But Daddy, as your precious daughter, I must have exceptional talent, right? Look, I always come first in whatever I learn, so please teach me. Lu Wangshu coquettishly wrapped her arms around her father's, pleading. This spell requires foundation establishment before you can learn it. Cultivate well, and once you've established your foundation, I'll teach you. Lu Changsheng said with a smile. Dad, you're not lying to me, are you? Lu Wangshu looked up at her father with a doubtful expression. Why would I lie to you? If one doesn't have exceptional talent, they might not be able to master this spell even after foundation establishment, plus it requires many conditions. But as long as you cultivate diligently, your father has prepared everything for you. Lu Changsheng declared confidently. Then, with a wave of his hand, the flame in his palm, like a roaring flood dragon, shot toward a distant mountain peak, causing an explosive rumble and spreading fire. See, this spell's power, is it ordinary? Lu Changsheng stood tall, speaking to his daughter. Daddy, how could I doubt you? I will definitely cultivate diligently and master this spell. Lu Wangshu nodded repeatedly after witnessing the spectacle. Having narrowly escaped death, she was resolved to return home and cultivate earnestly. Now, seeing the Thunder Gang dragon flame only strengthened her resolve. Daddy, and that light? Lu Wangshu continued to inquire. That belongs to a treasure, not a spell. It's been used up, gone. Lu Changsheng replied directly. He could procure another heavenly spiritual fire for his daughter. But he couldn't very well dig out the 9 treasures Rui bone for her, could he? Sai, when I saw you in danger, I was in such a panic that I threw all the treasures at the problem without a second thought. Lu Changsheng glanced at his daughter's somewhat skeptical look and sighed. Daddy, I'm sorry. Lu Wangshu's lips pursed and she looked down, upon hearing the words. It's okay, as long as you're safe, it's all worth it. Talisman path is the invincible path, there's no need to learn other techniques. Just cultivate well, make a breakthrough in foundation establishment, and condense your life-bound divine talisman. No one in the foundation establishment stage will be your match. Lu Changsheng rumpled his daughter's hair as he spoke. Once his daughter made a breakthrough in foundation establishment and condensed her life-bound divine talisman, with a few hundred talismans and mastery of void drawing of talismans and talisman refinement formation techniques, no average foundation establishment cultivator would be a match for her. Lu Wangshu nodded in agreement, determined to return home and cultivate well to break through to foundation establishment as soon as possible. Chapter 1013, Yin-Yang Primordial Elixir Method, Lu Miaohuan Breakthrough, 3rd Rank Artifact Refining. Chapter 1013, Chapter 361, Yin-Yang Primordial Elixir Method, Lu Miaohuan Breakthrough, 3rd Rank Artifact Refining. Bihu Lake Mountain. Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. The Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus. Like a spiritual spring, it can be used to refine a void magical treasure, serving as a second Dantian. When Lu Changxing heard Hong Lian's words, his eyes slightly narrowed, gazing at the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus in his hands. What is Yin and Yang? 2 begets 3, that is Yin and Yang. The cultivation technique he had been practicing, the Yin-Yang Creation Classic, as a true immortal level technique, was profoundly mysterious. It emphasized the mutual generation of Yin and Yang, transforming all things with the effect of coordinating all laws. Once he completed the transformation in his cultivation and achieved the Yin-Yang Creation Classic, he could freely transform his own cultivation level into corresponding demonic, Buddhist, or demon race cultivation techniques by utilizing the arbitrary transformation rules of nature's spiritual energy. This was why Lu Changxing believed this cultivation technique was highly suitable for him. Because once he mastered this technique, there was no need to cultivate any Buddhist or demonic techniques. He could directly cultivate the Brahma Demon True Saint technique. However, to achieve this effect, one would need a treasure of the void as a foundation. The Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus before him seemed quite promising. It was only a 3rd order. But according to Hong Lian, the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus could grow through cultivation, advancing to the 4th rank Tianyuan Lotus, even reaching the legendary Heavenly Yuan Dao Lotus. The Heavenly Yuan Dao Lotus was too far a goal for him to consider currently. But with the Myriad Spirits Bottle, the 4th rank Tianyuan Lotus seemed somewhat hopeful. Besides, the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus could also assist him in his core formation. He was looking to achieve a core formation breakthrough but faced a problem. Spirit Vein. To attempt core formation, a continuous supply of spiritual energy from a 3rd level spirit vein arena was necessary. However, the spirit vein of Bihu Lake was only a 2nd order superior. The spirit vein of the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven was a 2nd order inferior. Even if Mount Sumeru intervened, absorbing all spirit energy from Bihu into the cave heaven and exhausting vast amounts of spirit stones, the spiritual energy could only be reluctantly improved to 3rd order, insufficient for his core formation. After all, with his current foundation, once he achieved core formation, it would surely be a superior gold core. The required spiritual energy was far beyond what other nascent soul cultivators needed. For this matter, Lu Changxing had several preparations. One of which was, after completing the Yin-Yang Creation Classic, to cultivate a nascent soul secret technique, Yin-Yang Primordial Elixir Method. The basic principle of this secret technique was, at the peak of foundation establishment, to compress part of the mana continuously, refining it in the Qi Ocean core into multiple elemental elixirs. During the core formation attempt, all elemental elixirs could merge to form an immortal golden core. This not only made core formation much easier, eliminating bottlenecks, but also reduced the necessity for nature's spiritual energy during the breakthrough, enhancing the quality of core formation. According to the Yin-Yang Creation Classic, if there is a 2nd Dantian to store elemental elixirs, then the upper limit of possible elemental elixirs significantly increases. As long as enough elemental elixirs are aggregated, even if elevating the spirit energy of Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven to just quasi-3rd order, theoretically it should be sufficient to attempt core formation. Lu Changxing, looking at the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus in his hands, felt increasingly that this was suitable for him. Although cultivating this lotus to 4th order to become a Tianyuan lotus would also greatly enhance the spiritual energy of Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven, comparable to a 3rd order spirit vein, even if he had the Myriad Spirits Bottle, cultivating it to 4th order would not be easy. Moreover, in his view, even if he cultivated it to 4th order Tianyuan lotus, it would still be better suited as a void magical treasure serving as a 2nd Dantian. What a pity there's only one Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus. If there were a few more planted in the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven, that would be better. Lu Changxing sighed with a tinge of regret. Then, he took his wife, Lu Miaoyun and Chu Zhenjin, to the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. Yuner, Zhenjin, give it your all and see if we can revive this Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus. Lu Changxing informed the two ladies about the matters regarding the lotus, preparing to revive and plant this lotus in the Mount Sumeru cave heaven. Rest assured, husband. The two women nodded and replied. They were still in the foundation establishment stage. But because they cultivated the heavenly longevity technique, they were exceptionally talented in cultivating spirit plants, even able to expend their own lifespans to extend the vitality of the spirit plants. Seeing how their husband valued the lotus and asked for their help, both women took the matter very seriously. Okay. Lu Changxing nodded, then carefully unfroze the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus roots and placed it into the spiritual spring. Subsequently, he called out, Yuner, Jinjin, Mount Sumeru. In an instant, Lu Miaoyun and Chu Jinjin made gesture incantations, their bodies surrounded by a rich vitality, green-blue mana surged from their palms, enveloping the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus before them. Simultaneously, Lu Changxing took out the myriad spirits bottle. A drop of emerald, soybean-sized glistening liquid fell from the myriad spirits bottle into the roots of the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus. Suddenly, the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus gently swayed, emitting a thriving presence. Lu Changxing, observing through his divine sense, noticed that the damage on the roots of the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus slowly healed, seemingly replenished and restored. After a while, thin, mist-like, richly pure spiritual energy spilled from the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus. It was as if an additional small spiritual spring had appeared in the eyes of the present spiritual spring. Yuner, Jinjin, that will do, you can rest for a while. Lu Changxing, seeing his wife's pale face, immediately spoke. The Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus was already saved and maintaining its vitality. With the spiritual spring, care from Mount Sumeru, it could continue to recover and begin growing anew. Moreover, in 3 months' time, the myriad spirits bottle would condense another drop of myriad spirits heaven dew. By then, this Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus could probably fully recover and start growing. Emichim. Husband, is this sufficient? The two women, looking at the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus before them, asked. Chapter 1014, Yin Yang Primordial Elixir Method, Lu Miaohuan Breakthrough, 3rd Rank Artifact Refining. Chapter 1014, Chapter 361, Yin Yang Primordial Elixir Method, Lu Miaohuan Breakthrough, 3rd Rank Artifact Refining. They naturally could see that the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus had revived with new vigor. But the damage to its rhizomes seemed not yet healed, completely restored. It's good enough, thank you for your hard work. Lu Changxing held his wife's hand and said in a gentle voice. The Supreme Sect has issued an order, today the demonic path is causing chaos. If you find any trace of demonic path information, report it immediately. If anyone hides it, they will be executed on the spot. 10 days later, the Qingyun sect issued a demon subjugation order to all family forces and marketplaces. They didn't specify what the matter was. They merely indicated that there was chaos caused by the demonic path in Jiang country, and everyone, including the family forces, only needed to report any trace of demonic path information to Qingyun sect. If it was verified to be true, Qingyun sect would reward them. Anyone who had ties with the demonic path and dared to hide it would be labeled as part of the demonic path. Could it be related to the demonic path cultivator who kidnapped Wangshu? Lu Changxing speculated upon hearing this news. After all, this incident happened immediately after the previous one, which forced him to make the connection. However, after he had killed the elderly man, nothing had occurred during his 7 days outside. This indicated that the incident had not involved him. Regarding the demon subjugation order, Lu Changxing merely instructed his children to avoid going out during this time. If they were at the marketplace, they should try not to travel back and forth during this period and use messaging for any issues. Although this demon subjugation order might be a means to locate a specific demonic path information, it could also lead to some loose cultivators who receive demonic inheritances, or demonic path cultivators hiding in Jiang country, being noticed and driven to desperation. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. During these days, the demon subjugation order from Qingyun sect had become very heated. Not only from Qingyun sect, Lu Changxing heard that Luoxia sect, spirit-taming sect, and Heavenly Sword sect had all issued similar orders. The entire Jiang country cultivation realm had begun a round of cleansing against the demonic path. This reminded Lu Changxing of the demonic incident 20 years ago. At that time, the Jiang country cultivation realm also conducted a cleansing, and the Xiahou clan was obliterated by Qingyun sect. Although Jiang country has no fertile ground for the demonic path, every few decades, some will always emerge, but I wonder where Chuanjin is now. I hope he won't be mistakenly hunted as part of the demonic path. Lu Changxing muttered to himself, thinking of his son Lu Chuanjin. His son had been out for over 2 years. According to what Lu Chuanjin had said before, he should now be in Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Quanzhen's cultivation technique is indeed a demonic cultivation technique, but it's not the kind that involves killing people for training. He wouldn't do such things. Hopefully he won't be wrongfully labeled as demonic path. Lu Changxing shook his head, thinking so in his mind. At that moment, he remembered that the myriad spirits heaven dew in his myriad spirits bottle should have condensed. He immediately checked and, taking the myriad spirits bottle, went to Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven, dropping the myriad spirits heaven dew onto the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus. Indeed, with the drop of myriad spirits heaven dew, the damage on the rhizome of the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus finally healed, bringing a smile to Lu Changsheng's eyes. He thought to himself that without the myriad spirits bottle, relying solely on his wife's healing, it might have taken decades, even 100 years of lifespan to heal such damage. By the way, Hong Lian, how many years will it approximately take for the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus to advance to the Tianyuan Treasure Emperor Lotus? It was then that Lu Changxing thought of a question and asked Hong Lian. With the myriad spirits bottle, he was confident he could cultivate the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus to 4th rank. But since the myriad spirits bottle produced only 1 drop of myriad spirits heaven dew a year, he couldn't possibly wait indefinitely for the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus to advance. I am not sure either, but this lotus is about 7 inches broad, its petals crystalline, resembling jade. It should have advanced to Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus long ago. If it grows to 9 inches, it will evolve towards the Tianyuan Treasure Emperor Lotus. Hong Lian's voice echoed in Lu Changsheng's mind. Although she recognized the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, she only knew this much information on the matter. All right. Lu Changxing nodded. In his view, it would be best for the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus to advance to Tianyuan Treasure Emperor Lotus. If it was really impossible for it to advance to the 4th rank Emperor Lotus, this 3rd rank King Lotus would suffice for the time being. At the same time, White Crane Mountain, Luo family. This was a foundation establishment family with 3 foundation establishment cultivators in residence, situated under the governance of Spirit Taming Sect, modestly famous. But because 2 foundation establishment ancestors in the family had simultaneously fallen a few months ago, it led to the family members being anxious and the family forces gradually retracting. That day, a young man wearing a wide-brimmed hat, with a clear and handsome face and narrow eyes, approached near White Crane Mountain. Luo family. The young man, looking at White Crane Mountain enveloped by a great formation, sneered, his smile gradually widening, his narrow eyes filled with murderous intent. Then he took out a set of spirit-taming sect disciple robes and put them on, driving a spirit boat to the Luo family's mountain gate. Greetings, senior. When the guarding disciples of the Luo family saw Lu Chuanjin, they immediately bowed and saluted. After all, the foundation establishment's spiritual pressure and the spirit-taming sect disciple robes compelled them not to offend him. Summon your Luo family's person in charge. The young man, with an air of superiority, demanded coldly. Please wait a moment, senior. The Luo family's guarding disciple dared not delay and immediately sent a message to notify the family elders. Shortly thereafter, several cultivators hurried over. Our sect received a report that your White Crane Mountain Luo family has colluded with the demonic path. Now all foundation members, the family head, and elders, follow me back for investigation. The young man took out a token and declared loudly. What, colluding with the demonic path? Upon hearing this, the Luo family members all looked at each other in dismay, their expressions drastically changing. Colluding with the demonic path was a major crime. Even if the Luo family had not committed such an act, just cooperating with the investigation would cost them dearly. Chapter 10:15, Yin Yang Primordial Elixir Method, Lu Miaohuan Breakthrough, 3rd Rank Artifact Refining. Chapter 10:15, Chapter 361, Yin Yang Primordial Elixir Method, Lu Miaohuan Breakthrough, 3rd Rank Artifact Refining. It might not go well, they might bleed a lot, and several people from the family might have to undergo a soul search, affecting their soul cultivation level. Envoy, could there be some misunderstanding here? The Luo family ancestor bowed to Lu Chuanjun and spoke very politely. Are you defying orders? The youth immediately snorted coldly, his foundation establishment spiritual pressure emanating from him. Although he was only at the first layer of foundation establishment, still weaker than the Luo family ancestor standing before him, his brow radiated a dominating aura, showing no regard for the other. Does the envoy have a decree? Luo family ancestor looked at Lu Chuanjun before him and said in a low voice. The more arrogant and domineering the other party was, the less likely he was to suspect him. After all, the disciples of the spirit-taming sect were generally arrogant and proud, to the point of disregard for others. Humph. The youth's eyes were sharp as knives, giving the Luo family ancestor a cold stare. Then, he took out a brocade box from his chest and threw it in front of the mountain gate, saying coldly, "Get out and receive the decree yourself." With a wry smile, Luo family ancestor immediately stepped out of the mountain gate and opened the brocade box before him. However, as soon as the brocade box was opened, a golden light shot towards the Luo family ancestor's forehead, exuding a ferocious and terrifying aura. Not good. The Luo family ancestor realized something was wrong and hastily formed a protective aura. But in front of this golden light, his mana shield was as fragile as tofu and was broken through. Then with a bloody hole appeared on his forehead, his face showing an expression of dying without closing his eyes. Elder Ancestor. Seeing this, the Luo family cultivators from White Crane Mountain immediately cried out in horror. It's you little bastard, you dare to impersonate a disciple of the Supreme Sect. One of the Luo family elders saw the six-winged golden silkworm and recognized the youth's identity, shouting angrily. I said that if I were to exterminate the Luo family, then I would wipe you all out. This youth was Lu Chuanjun. His eyes were narrow and vicious, and he gave a cold smile to the Luo family cultivators, chilling them to the bone, and even causing a few young members of the Luo family to fall to the ground in fright. Activate the Great Formation. The Luo family head immediately shouted loudly, attempting to activate the family's Great Formation to kill Lu Chuanjun. However, upon seeing this, Lu Chuanjun simply snatched up the corpse of the Luo family ancestor, and like a peng bird, he turned into an escape light, soaring into the heavens and vanishing without a trace. Although the Luo family no longer had a foundation establishment cultivator to hold the fort, with the protection of the family Great Formation, it was impossible for him to break through alone, so naturally, he wouldn't linger there. Witnessing this scene, anger burned in the hearts of the Luo family cultivators, filled with immense fury. But beyond anger, there was a deep sense of fear and helplessness. Especially the high-ranking members of the Luo family, who were cold from head to toe, their backs drenched in cold sweat. They knew all too well that the two previously fallen family patriarchs had died at the hands of this scourge. What sins has my Luo family committed to offend such a scourge? One of the Luo family elders cried out loudly. Then, overcome by a surge of emotion, he stumbled and fell to the ground. The feud between the Luo family and Lu Chuanjun started over a trivial matter at an auction, where a direct lineage member of the Luo family and Lu Chuanjun contested over a vial of demon beast essence blood, followed by an ambush. Just because of this minor incident, the situation continually escalated, leading ultimately to the deaths of two Foundation Establishment family patriarchs. Now, with the last Foundation Establishment ancestor who presided over the family also dead in the enemy's hands, even if the other party didn't wipe out their Luo family, their White Crane Mountain would become a juicy morsel for other family forces, continuously nibbled away. Half a year later. By Lake Mountain, Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. Heavenly Longevity Technique, Refine. Lu Miaohuan, in a black luxurious palace dress, her beauty cold yet dignified, her demeanor majestic, sat cross-legged in front of a sinister and beautiful dark red bloom. She had started cultivating the heavenly longevity technique alongside Chu Zhenjin. However, 5 years ago, Chu Zhenjin had completed the cultivation of the auspicious tree and mastered the heavenly longevity technique. And, with the aid of 2 drops of myriad spirits heaven dew, she quickly broke through to foundation establishment, becoming a foundation establishment cultivator. Lu Miaohuan said nothing, but there was some dissatisfaction in her heart. After all, among Lu Changsheng's wives, aside from Lu Lanshu, Lu Zier, Lu Qing'er who were unable to cultivate, the others, Lu Miaoge, Lu Miaoyun, Chu Zhenjin, Ling Zixiao, Zhao Qingqing, were all foundation establishment cultivators. She alone, now, was still at the 8th level of energy refinement. How could the strong-willed second young lady feel at ease? Thus, over the years, she had diligently refined the abyssal ghoul blossom, hoping to master the heavenly longevity technique as soon as possible. But the refinement process of the abyssal ghoul blossom was excruciatingly slow. Entirely unlike what Lu Miaoyun and Chu Zhenjin had claimed, her progress just wouldn't increase. Fortunately, the progress was slow, but it didn't come to a halt. Moreover, Lu Changxing had always comforted her, asserting that the abyssal ghoul blossom was a few notches more powerful than Lu Miaoyun's luminous treasure tree and Chu Zhenjin's auspicious tree. After these years of continuous refinement, she also felt she was about to make this demonic plant her life-bound spiritual root. As Lu Miaohuan refined the abyssal ghoul blossom, their energies mingled, and she became even more enchantingly beautiful. Suddenly, out of nowhere, boom! Lu Miaohuan felt her spiritual power uncontrollably pouring out, devoured by the abyssal ghoul blossom. In the face of this situation, Lu Miaohuan wasn't panicked at all. Her mature and charming face, with the allure of a young matron, broke out into a smile, her lips slightly pursed, radiating charm. She knew that she had finally refined the abyssal ghoul blossom into her life-bound spiritual root. Come, feast to your heart's content today. Lu Miaohuan patted her storage bag lightly with her palm. Instantly, 9 large, ice-bound horses appeared. They were the 9-headed wind thunder steeds belonging to the elder ancestor of the Su family. These 9 steeds were all second-order monster beasts, and in Lu Changsheng's view, they were very suitable for nourishing the abyssal ghoul blossom. Chapter 10:16, Yin Yang Primordial Elixir Method, Lu Miaohuan's Breakthrough, 3rd Rank Artifact Refining. _4 Chapter 10:16, Chapter 361, Yin Yang Primordial Elixir Method, Lu Miaohuan's Breakthrough, 3rd Rank Artifact Refining. _4 Lu Miaohuan's refinement of the abyssal ghoul blossom was too slow. During the process, if too much nourishment was provided, it would likely affect the speed of her refinement. Thus, the 9-headed wind thunder steed remained frozen and stored in Lu Miaohuan's storage bag. Having learned from the experiences of Lu Miaoyun and Chu Zhenjin, Lu Miaohuan knew that providing sufficient spiritual energy and nourishment to her life-bound spiritual root during the moment of breakthrough would benefit both herself and the root. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The abyssal ghoul blossom swayed, emitting a charming luster. Dark red thorny roots appeared, piercing through the ice and embedding into the flesh and blood of the wind thunder steed. Then, the enchanting flower bud transformed into a terrifying, permeating sight, resembling an abyssal maw that enveloped and swallowed a wind thunder steed. This step was repeated continuously. Seeing the scene before her, Lu Miaohuan's expression remained beautifully cold and calm, unfazed. After all, having tended to her flower for so many years, she had long since become accustomed to such sights. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. As each wind thunder steed was devoured by the abyssal ghoul blossom, surges of spiritual mechanism also emerged from the flower, enveloping and protecting Lu Miaohuan. Inside Changxing Hall, Lu Miaoge and Ling Zixiao heard the commotion, stepped out of the main hall, and looked towards the breakthrough occurring Lu Miaohuan. Ling Zixiao watched Lu Miaohuan with a calm expression, eager to see the effect of her mastering the heavenly longevity technique. After all, she had long noticed that Lu Miaohuan's abyssal ghoul blossom was unlike the life-bound spiritual roots of Lu Miaoyun and Chu Zhenjin. Watching her sister enveloped in an exotic, captivating beauty, with the abyssal ghoul blossom next to her like a man-eating flower, devouring wind thunder steeds, Lu Miaoga pursed her lips and her beautiful eyes revealed a touch of concern. Although she was aware of the abyssal ghoul blossom's state, the sight still caused her to inwardly sigh. Not to mention, Jiang country was currently purging the demonic path. If someone saw her sister's appearance now, they would probably mistake her for a heretic cultivator, a demonic path cultivator. Boom! It wasn't long before Lu Miaohuan's cultivation level directly broke through the 9th level of energy refinement. Her aura was still climbing. While the abyssal ghoul blossom digested the wind thunder steeds and inhaled the dense nature's spiritual energy from Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven, it infused a surge of demonic power different from that of Lu Miaoyun and Chu Zhenjin into Lu Miaohuan's body. During this time, Lu Changxing heard the news and came to watch the situation alongside Lu Miaoyun and Chu Zhenjin. Sister Huanhuan should be about to directly break through Foundation establishment. Lu Miaoyun softly said, watching Lu Miaohuan before her. She could clearly see that Lu Miaohuan's aura was much more overwhelming and powerful than when she and Chu Zhenjin had their breakthroughs. Not at all inferior to the commotion she had caused at her own Foundation establishment. Emichim. Lu Changxing nodded. He had previously suspected that Lu Miaohuan might break through to Foundation establishment in one go, so he had arranged for the Mount Sumer Tree King to transplant the abyssal ghoul blossom from Lakeheart Island into the Cave Heaven, just to avoid too much disturbance during the breakthrough. After all, Bai Lake Mountain currently had 5 Foundation establishment cultivators outside, himself, Lu Miaoga, Ling Zixiao, Lu Miaoyun, and Zhao Qingqing. If a new Foundation establishment cultivator were to appear every few years, it would be quite astonishing indeed. Moreover, many had speculated that Lu Muping's Foundation establishment breakthrough was related to Bai Lake Mountain. Therefore, Lu Changxing wasn't planning to hold any ceremony for the current breakthroughs at home, keeping a low-profile development approach. Just like that, the disturbance continued. 3 days later, Lu Miaohuan began her Foundation establishment breakthrough. 10 days later, Lu Miaohuan successfully broke through Foundation establishment. However, what was surprising was that after her Foundation establishment, the energy within her had not ceased. It continued for half a month, elevating her cultivation level from the first layer of Foundation establishment directly to the 3rd layer before calming down. Congratulations to my dear Huanhuan for mastering the heavenly longevity technique, breaking through Foundation establishment, becoming a Foundation establishment great cultivator, and the prospect of achieving golden core nascent soul is just around the corner. Lu Changxing had been closely monitoring his wife's condition these days. Now seeing her finally complete her breakthrough, he was the first to step forward, offering warm congratulations with a chuckle. After her Foundation establishment breakthrough, there was a significant change in Lu Miaohuan. Not only did she look much younger and more beautiful, appearing as if she were in her late 20s, but her entire body also exuded an enigmatic allure. Her dark hair was deeper and black, with strands reflecting bits of dark red luster, which complemented her pale jade-like skin nicely. Her pupils also shone with a dark red beautiful luster, giving her a unique charm. Her nose was high and defined, her lips bewitching, as if touched with fresh blood, vividly enticing. This appearance made Lu Changxing think she resembled a darkly made-up female boss from TV shows. All that was missing was some eyeshadow. Even in Lu Changxing's eyes, Lu Miaohuan's tall and slender graceful posture seemed even more enchanting, constantly radiating captivating charm. Huanhuan, congratulations. Congratulations, Sister Huanhuan, on breaking through Foundation establishment. Wow, Sister Huanhuan, you look so beautiful. Lu Miaoga, Ling Zixiao, Lu Miaoyun, and Chu Zhenjin all spoke up, congratulating Lu Miaohuan. Thank you, husband, sister, Sister Zixiao, Miaoyun, and Zhenjin. Lu Miaohuan stood up, her face bright with a joyous smile. Her breakthrough to Foundation establishment had swept away the gloom from her mind. After a brief chat, Chu Zhenjin asked Lu Miaohuan what abilities she had gained. For example, after Lu Miaohuan's Foundation establishment breakthrough, she had condensed a Tao Foundation seed called the Luminous Eye, which could penetrate illusions and related techniques. When Chu Zhenjin broke through Foundation establishment, her Tao Foundation seed called Universal Illumination of Buddhist chants could calm the spirit and suppress heart demons. My Tao Foundation seed's ability is blood essence extraction. It allows me to convert blood essence into life essence through the abyssal ghoul blossom, which is vitality, which means lifespan. Chapter 10:17, Yin Yang Primordial Elixir Method, Lu Miaohuan Breakthrough, 3rd Rank Artifact Refining. _5 Chapter 10:17, Chapter 361, Yin Yang Primordial Elixir Method, Lu Miaohuan Breakthrough, 3rd Rank Artifact Refining. _5 Lu Miaohuan paused, then softly shared the ability of her Tao Foundation seed. Although she always knew that the abyssal ghoul blossom wasn't considered an orthodox demonic plant, this ability still made her feel it was a bit too aligned with the demon path. Using the abyssal ghoul blossom to devour living beings, thereby plundering the essence of their flesh and blood to transform into pure life essence, supplementing her own lifespan. Supplement lifespan with blood essence? Lu Changsheng and Ling Zixiao, among others, were surprised when they heard of this ability. In the cultivation world, the importance of lifespan goes without saying. With lifespan comes a future, and moreover, 90% of cultivators encounter life-threatening challenges throughout their journey, such as combat, failure during breakthroughs, cultivating deviations, or casting life-shortening powerful techniques and magics that consume their own lifespan. Take energy refining cultivators, for instance, whose lifespan is typically about 120 years. However, apart from a very few who practice nourishing life techniques, hardly anyone lives to that age. The same principle applies to foundation establishment. Therefore, heavenly and earthly treasures and elixir medicines related to lifespan extension are exorbitantly priced and extremely rare. Yet here was Lu Miaohuan with the ability to extend lifespan by devouring the life force of other beings, which was quite astonishing. However, this lifespan supplementation could only restore what was specially depleted, not enhance the upper limit. This is still quite impressive. It's like Huan, you can practice life-shortening techniques with no consequence, being able to replenish it afterward. Ling Zixiao said this. But after saying so, she thought about the side effects of the heavenly longevity technique, being bound to by Lake Mountain, rejecting other cultivation methods, and instinctively shook her head. After all, if one couldn't leave by Lake Mountain and couldn't practice life-shortening secret techniques, what good was the ability to replenish one's lifespan? No worries, abilities like that don't matter. Lu Changsheng spoke out, seemingly unconcerned about this ability. He had already realized with Lu Miaohuan's luminous eye that no matter how beneficial the Tao Foundation seed condensed by the heavenly longevity technique appeared, if one's freedom was restricted, the abilities would become useless. However, he did think of his book of malevolent curses and fates, which had been collecting dust. If needed in the future, he could let Lu Miaohuan use it. After all, combined with the longevity of the heavenly longevity technique and the ability to replenish lifespan, it'd be a perfect match. The book of malevolent curses and fates, however, was a one-time use exotic treasure. Once used, it would be gone. If he later acquired treasures that could curse without limits, those would indeed be quite suitable for Lu Miaohuan. Thereafter, regarding Lu Miaohuan's breakthrough, Lu Changsheng hosted a family banquet to celebrate modestly with his household. However, afterward, he instructed Lu Yun to go to Qingzhou Mountain and inform his father-in-law, Lu Yuanding. After all, he felt it necessary to share such news, which would surely bring joy. That night, Lu Changsheng, together with Lu Miaoge and Lu Miaohuan, engaged in dual cultivation. Throughout this process, he became increasingly motivated. Knowing that this was due to Lu Miaohuan's Tao Foundation seed's ability, replenishing his physical strength and life essence during their dual cultivation. 2 months later. Congratulations to the host, 50 offspring have completed channeling qi into the body, stepping onto the immortal path, earning bloodline effect, offspring's comprehension increased by 3%, and 1 lottery draw. Comprehension increased? Upon hearing this system notification, Lu Changsheng's heart skipped a beat. Initially, he gained the bloodline effect of increasing the probability of children's spiritual roots and pregnancy rates. Previously, a spiritual body inheritance probability appeared, and now there was an increase in comprehension. In the cultivation world, comprehension is a broad and mysterious concept. Whether it's cultivation techniques, magic, the 100 arts of cultivation, or anything else, everything is linked with comprehension. Anyway, any boost to comprehension is a good thing. If comprehension could be improved, then the kids at home would basically all be able to practice top-level techniques. Lu Chongqing murmured to himself. Most of the current advanced techniques were entrusted to Lu Miaoyan to manage the family's transmission pavilion. Due to talent and comprehension, most siblings at home are still practicing exquisite-level cultivation techniques. It wasn't that he, their father, was unwilling to teach them. Unless one's comprehension was truly exceptional and they could thoroughly understand and resonate with a technique, low-quality spiritual root-bearers could scarcely proceed with peripheral sect-level or orthodox-level cultivation techniques, which would make their practice laborious and ineffective compared to practicing an advanced-level or exquisite-level technique. Birth rate, comprehension, spiritual body inheritance. I wonder what other bloodline effects there might be, Lu Chongqing pondered, feeling that if this trend continued, his children would become increasingly exceptional. However, thinking of this situation, somewhat like the younger children standing on the shoulders of the older ones, Lu Chongqing sighed. He silently invoked in his mind, system, lottery draw. Instantly, a spinning prize wheel appeared, glistening with golden light. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a third-order artifact refinement skill. The reward has been issued to the system space. The host can check it at any time. A talisman-shaped orb of light emerged from the prize wheel, accompanied by the sound of the system's voice. What, third-order artifact refinement? Lu Chongqing looked at the artifact skill before him with a pleasant surprise. Although the family had many artifact refiners, they were merely ordinary, not even a second-rank artifact refiner was among them. To create a spiritual artifact for Lu Pingan, his father had to seek help from others. Now, with the third-order artifact refinement skill, the family's shortcoming in artifact refining would finally be addressed. Lu Chongqing's mental spirit stirred slightly as he turned his attention to the system space. Third-order artifact refinement skill, upon use, directly comprehend third-order maxed-out artifact refining skills and a complete basic compendium of magic artifacts. Chapter 10:18, Artifact Refining Concept, Another Heavenly Origin Precious Lotus. Chapter 10:18, Chapter 362, Artifact Refining Concept, Another Heavenly Origin Precious Lotus. Use it. Lu Chongqing activated the third-order artifact refinement skill from the system space. Instantly, knowledge about artifact refining flooded into his mind like a tide. Basics of artifact refining, foundry craftsmanship, techniques, divine skills, natural qi and materials, principles of design for magic artifacts, spiritual artifacts, and magical treasures. After a long while. Artifact refining, Lu Chongqing slowly opened his eyes, digesting the knowledge on artifact refining in his mind. It had to be said that this third-order artifact refinement skill was quite profound. It had not only provided him with a wealth of knowledge on artifact refining, but also deepened his understanding of magic and spiritual artifacts, and magical treasures. In the future, he could even deduce some potential weaknesses and flaws in an opponent's life-bound magic treasure based on its use, thereby devising targeted strategies. Furthermore, when crafting his own life-bound magic treasure in the future, he could make adjustments based on the original design, incorporating many of his own concepts, making the magic treasure more suited to himself. After all, whether it was cultivation techniques or magic treasures, they could be used by anyone. But if something was custom-made and perfectly suited, the effect would inevitably be several times better. This path of artifact refining holds some similarities to puppet skills, with a touch of ingeniously shared wisdom between disparate branches. Lu Chongqing's eyes narrowed slightly, feeling that there were many similarities between the principles of artifact refining and puppet crafting. If there was a distinction, it was that artifact refining leaned toward the control of mana, maximizing power and effect in a cultivator's hands. On the other hand, puppets were more about functionality. They didn't require much consideration of a cultivator's techniques or mana, and the inscribing of runes on them was much more intricate and complex. Now that he had acquired the third-order artifact refining skill, Lu Changxing felt that if he could settle down and thoroughly study it, there might be hope of advancing his puppet skills to the third rank. However, at the moment, Lu Changxing wasn't greatly interested in third-order puppet skills. Rather, his interest in industrialization had been rekindled, along with new ideas. Years ago, after acquiring puppet skills, Lu Changxing had the idea of a puppet factory with an assembly line. Decades had passed, and the puppet workshop at By Lake Mountain had initially realized assembly line craftsmanship. But this workshop was still far from his original vision. In his initial concept, there was not only a manual assembly line but also puppet automation. Some puppet components and parts would be crafted by puppets. Even constructing several large-scale puppets, akin to CNC machine tools with artificial intelligence. But as beautiful as the imagination was, reality was harsh. The difficulty of construction was one thing, but what really hindered Lu Changxing was not a matter of craftsmanship, but the cost of construction, daily consumption, and subsequent maintenance expenses. Second-rank puppets running for long periods required the consumption of middle-grade spirit stones, or even superior-grade spirit stones. Naturally, their efficiency was slightly higher than that of energy-refining cultivators. But in the cultivation world, other things might be scarce, but there was no shortage of cultivators. A puppet apprentice at By Lake Mountain earned less than 10 low-quality spirit stones a month in wages. Even due to the reputation and goodwill of By Lake Mountain, countless cultivators were willing to sign indenture contracts for the chance to learn a trade and have a backer, as long as they were provided with food and accommodation. Under such circumstances, relying on puppet automation was simply a losing business. The emergence of the Thousand Faces puppet fox, which required no daily consumption or subsequent maintenance, could potentially realize Lu Changxing's idea of automation. But he was currently unable to craft such third-order puppets, and the cost was too high to consider. After all, to make a profit from crafting puppets using the Thousand Faces puppet fox, it might take hundreds of years just to break even. But now, having obtained the third-order artifact refinement skill, Lu Changxing suddenly had many new ideas. While full-scale industrialization might not be feasible, partial industrialization was certainly possible. For example, whether it was artifact refining, alchemy, talisman making, or puppets, there was one tedious step in common: the processing of raw materials. The materials for artifacts and puppets were mainly metal spirit ores, which required cultivators to spend a great deal of time refining, purging them of impurities. The only issue in the process of refining spirit ores is the purging of impurities without losing the inherent spiritual essence. If I could construct a spiritual power furnace that automatically purges impurities and locks in the spiritual essence, I could omit the manual refining step entirely, saving a significant amount of time. Lu Changxing's eyes narrowed as he began to ponder and calculate in his mind to see if he could make this idea a reality. After all, cost was always a concern. If the spiritual power furnace turned out to be too costly to operate, then it would be pointless. This spiritual power furnace could operate like an earth fire array, tapping into earth fire, linking up with spirit veins, so that it wouldn't rely on spirit stones for power, just the construction and maintenance costs of the magic furnace. Right, I also need to consider the ease of operation because this kind of spiritual power furnace must be controllable by an energy refining cultivator. Lu Changxing continued to think about the feasibility. After some time, Lu Changxing felt this idea was worth a try. Not only for making money, but also because he had felt for years that the purely manual production methods of the cultivation world were incredibly inefficient. As a transmigrator, he felt compelled to do something, like initiate an industrial revolution. By exploiting the price scissors effect, he could give the artisans still stuck in primitive workshops of the cultivation world a little shock. 3 months later. Puppet workshop. Lu Changxing looked at the furnace in front of him, a full 10 feet tall and clad in red copper with runes all over, and showed a satisfied expression. Then he turned to Lu Xianji beside him and said, "Xianji, give it a try." "Yes, father." Lu Xianji, in a loose long robe with a mustache on his lip corners and a calm face, nodded in response. He stepped forward and embedded 9 middle-grade spirit stones into the earth fire mouth, then made the gesture incantations, igniting the earth fire array connected with the furnace. The roaring earth fire began to burn. Chapter 10:19, Artifact Refining Concept, Another Heavenly Origin Precious Lotus. Chapter 10:19, Chapter 362, Artifact Refining Concept, Another Heavenly Origin Precious Lotus. Wum wum wum. The red copper melting furnace began to tremble, its spiritual patterns gleaming with a red luster, their sound growing louder until they rumbled mightily. Open. Lu Xianji, continuing his gesture incantations, let out a light shout and opened the feed port of the furnace, unleashing a layer of rolling thermal waves. He then slapped his storage bag and dozens of pieces of kuei essence or flew into the red copper melting furnace. Bang! The lid of the feed port closed with a booming sound as the temperature within the furnace continued to rise. Lu Changxing observed the situation inside the furnace with his divine sense. He could clearly see the kuei essence or melting into molten iron, its impurities dissipating, while its spirit nature was burnt yet tightly locked within by the inscriptions of the furnace. After a long while, the furnace roared and flashed a golden spiritual light. Seeing this, Lu Xianji quickly formed gesture incantations with both hands and cast a spell towards the furnace. The discharge port of the red copper melting furnace swung open, and a wave of heat flooded out, raising the temperature of the grand hall. Blob after blob of purified kuei essence iron juice flowed out, exhibiting a dark, spiritual gleam, then rapidly solidified. Father, this kuei essence has been refined very cleanly. It is just that some of the spiritual essence is not entirely even. If it is to be used for crafting magic artifacts or puppet parts, it might require some additional processing, Lu Xianji said after inspecting the solidified iron and speaking up. Alright, I think I know what the issue is, Lu Changxing nodded. He had observed the entire process and had already spotted some issues. How do you find the performance of this melting spirit furnace? Lu Changxing continued to inquire. The efficiency is very high, but it cannot separately melt different types of spirit ores, Lu Xianji replied. Moreover, melting too little spirit ore and continually operating for extended periods would be a loss, Lu Xianji added. Lu Changxing nodded, also realizing these issues. The melting spirit furnace he had casted was approximately a top-grade spiritual tool. Excluding his labor costs, just the material expenses amounted to over 10,000 spirit stones. With so much time and effort invested and the high cost, the resulting efficiency was seen as quite a failure in Lu Changxing's eyes. Father, currently we have several stable spirit mines in White Tiger Mountain. As long as we transport these spirit ores here for unified melting, we will be able to significantly reduce the cost and greatly improve efficiency, Lu Xianji continued. Moreover, once the scale of our family's workshop expands further in the future, the effect of this melting spirit furnace will also greatly enhance, Lu Xianji added. While Lu Xianji thought the furnace's performance was mediocre, somewhat lacking in utility, he naturally didn't want to dampen his father's spirits since he had invested so much time and thought into it. Alright, when I have time later, I'll work on improving it. You can see in the meantime if there are any other issues that need to be addressed, said Lu Changxing a bit listlessly as he exited the puppet workshop. At this moment, he further understood how difficult it was to industrialize the cultivation world. Even as a third-order top-tier artifact refiner like himself, crafting a melting spirit furnace for just first and second-rank spirit ores was so troublesome. To keep optimizing and improving while spending time and effort for a result that only increased efficiency and saved a bit in labor costs. With the time and energy, whether in alchemy, artifact refining, or talisman making, he would earn much more. For Lu Changxing, this could only be seen as a hobby of pure interest, not wholly measurable by profit. Yes, father, Lu Xianji nodded in agreement. After watching Lu Changxing leave, he stood silently, gazing at the melting spirit furnace before him, unable to help but admire his father's creativity and hands-on abilities. If the puppet workshop could increase its foundation tenfold from now and have a continual supply of spirit ores, then the efficiency of this melting spirit furnace could probably be realized, Lu Xianji murmured. Although Bihu Lake Mountain's puppet workshop was doing well, its reach was limited to the surrounding area without further expansion. Consequently, the workshop hadn't grown much in size over the years, it had mainly increased the variety of puppets and the production of advanced puppets. But the demand for puppets was only so high. Unless they could expand the business throughout the entire Qingyun region and even the Jiang country cultivation realm, only then could the effectiveness of a melting spirit furnace like this truly come into play. To expand the family business across the entire Qingyun region, the Jiang country cultivation realm is not without hope. I just wonder if I will live to see that day, Lu Xianji thought of his father, the several aunts at home, and his siblings, Lu Qingshan, Lu Chuanjun, and Lu Wangshu. With them, the family would most likely advance further, eventually becoming a top-tier family in the Qingyun region or even a nascent Soul Great Clan. However, with his 9th grade spiritual root, this life was destined to be without foundation establishment. He didn't know if he would witness that day. I may not see it, but Xuanyu will definitely witness it in the future, mused Lu Xianji, his face lighting up with a smile. He had a total of 4 children. His second son, Lu Xuanyu, although only possessing a 7th grade spiritual root, had much greater talent in puppetry than his father. He had the potential to become a second-order puppeteer and perhaps would see the family reach that milestone. Time flew quickly, and in the blink of an eye, more than half a year passed. After such persistent cultivation, Xia Zhiyue finally started her attempt at foundation establishment. For Xia Zhiyue, Lu Changxing had also taken her to the Mount Sumeru cave heaven for her breakthrough. After all, she had followed him for over 30 years, had only a younger brother outside, and he trusted her greatly. Is this about to fail? Lu Changxing looked at Xia Zhiyue, who was in the midst of her breakthrough, with a slight frown. With so many in his household having undertaken foundation establishment, he was all too familiar with the process. He keenly sensed that Xia Zhiyue was running out of steam and on the verge of failure. Chapter 1020, Artifact Refining Concept, Another Heavenly Origin Precious Lotus. Chapter 1020, Chapter 362, Artifact Refining Concept, Another Heavenly Origin Precious Lotus. However, when I think about it, Xia Zhiyue is only a 7th grade spiritual root and hasn't undergone much tempering. With an average disposition, it's normal for her to fail her breakthrough. After all, consuming a foundation establishment elixir only increases the probability of breakthrough, not guaranteeing it 100%. Fortunately, I was prepared in advance. Naturally, Lu Changxing would not allow Xia Zhiyue's breakthrough to fail. He acted as her protector to prevent any mishaps during her breakthrough process. He immediately stepped forward, took her in his arms, and whispered, "Zhiyue, calm your mind, I will help you with your foundation establishment." Xia Zhiyue, who was striving to break through to foundation establishment, felt her lips captured and her body softened with weakness, instinctively raising her jade arms to wrap around Lu Changxing's neck upon hearing his words. Soon after, with rustling sounds, 2 silhouettes merged, and soft, crisp cries filled the air. As Lu Changxing continued to cultivate the inverted phoenix reversal technique, he infused his mana and the yin-yang energies into Xia Zhiyue. The Dao foundation that initially lacked momentum for solidification continued to coalesce, slowly rising from Elixir Lake. However, due to the forced solidification by external forces, one could see that the entire Dao foundation was filled with dense cracks, resembling a shattered jade disc. This was indeed the lowest tier of Dao foundations, the bedrock shatter. Yet, despite being a bedrock shatter, Xia Zhiyue successfully completed her foundation establishment under such circumstances. "Thank you, my husband." After a while, Xia Zhiyue, with a flush on her face and charm in her eyes, spoke to Lu Changxing, her voice trembling. Other cultivators would be in an unprecedentedly good condition immediately after their foundation establishment, filled with strength. But Xia Zhiyue's breakout process was unlike ordinary people. Not only did she have to endure the surge of nature's spiritual energy, but she also had to withstand the impact from Lu Changxing. Moreover, during this process, she had to concentrate on solidifying her Dao foundation in coordination with Lu Changxing, leaving her completely exhausted in body and spirit, not wanting to move even a finger. "It's all right, you should rest well." Lu Changxing spoke gently. He found the sensation of dual cultivation during her foundation establishment to be quite unique. Xia Zhiyue replied softly, quietly experiencing the transformation of breaking through her Tao foundation. Although it was only the solidification of the worst bedrock shatter, it was still a transformation that was both elevating and purifying. At this moment, Xia Zhiyue felt as if she were dreaming. She could not have imagined that one day, she would actually be able to succeed in foundation establishment. "Dad, your daughter has broken through to foundation establishment," Xia Zhiyue softly murmured, thinking of her father. She remembered how, since childhood, her father's greatest wish was to break through to foundation establishment one day. He hoped that both she and her brother would also be able to achieve foundation establishment to become esteemed foundation establishment great cultivators. Back then, it was just a father's wishful thinking, a wish for his children to succeed, almost impossible to fulfill. But now, she seemed to have fulfilled her father's dream. Not long ago, her brother Xia Zhaoyang had written to her, saying he had gathered enough foundation establishment elixirs and foundation establishment spiritual objects, and was preparing to attempt foundation establishment soon. Unlike her, he had a 4th grade spiritual root and was a disciple of the Immortal sects. Moreover, over the years, he had managed to accumulate foundation establishment elixirs and spiritual objects due to his own efforts, making it very likely for him to succeed in foundation establishment. I wonder what Ziyang's expression would be if he knew I achieved foundation establishment before him. Xia Zhiyue thought of her brother Xia Zhaoyang, a hint of amusement appearing in her eyes. Half a month later. Shiyu's here? Lu Changxing was instructing his daughter Lu Wangshu in her cultivation when he suddenly felt something and produced a yin-yang sensing talisman in his hand. He knew that Xiao Xie had arrived at Bai Lake Mountain. He immediately took his daughter Lu Wangshu to meet Xiao Xie. When the three met, they shared joyful greetings and went straight back to Baiyun Peak. Lu Changxing inquired about whether Xiao Xie's trip was related to an end to the matters concerning Luoyun mountain range. Years ago, when he took Lu Wangshu to the Luoyun mountain range, Xiao Xie had estimated that the secret realm would end in about half a year, yet she had only returned now. Something unexpected happened in the secret realm. Xiao Xie responded softly. She explained that demonic path cultivators had appeared in the secret realm, causing delays. It was also because of this matter that Qingyun sect issued a demon subjugation order, and the ownership of the secret realm was shared with Heavenly Sword sect, Luoxia sect, and Spirit Taming sect. Demonic path cultivators appeared in the secret realm, and because of this, Qingyun sect issued a demon subjugation command? Lu Changxing, upon hearing this, thought of the demonic path nascent soul he had blasted away and paused in contemplation. Xiao Xie nodded lightly and took out several jade boxes from her storage bag for her daughter. "Wangshu, these are gifts from your mother." Then, she handed one jade box to Lu Changxing. "Changxing, I've also brought you a gift." "Oh, I have one too." Lu Changxing's eyebrows raised slightly, a hint of a smile appeared on his face. He hadn't expected Xiao Xie to have prepared gifts for both her daughter Lu Wangshu and him. He opened the jade box. Inside, there lay a 3-inch tall, crystalline blue-white lotus. The heavenly origin precious lotus. Lu Changxing's eyes narrowed slightly in surprise upon seeing the lotus. The lotus before him was about 3 inches wide, with crystal-clear petals, tinted in blue and white. Based on what Hong Lian had previously told him, he recognized it as the heavenly origin precious lotus. The nearby Lu Wangshu also found the heavenly origin precious lotus a bit familiar. It somewhat resembled the lotus she had seen when her father had harvested it from the 9 heavens gang wind layer. However, this particular lotus was nowhere near as large or as beautiful as the one her father had. "Do you recognize it, Changxing?" Xiao Xie was somewhat taken aback. With a soft gaze and a smile, she said, "I know you have been looking for spiritual spring objects and collecting spiritual origin pearls. This time in the secret realm, when I learned that planting this heavenly origin precious lotus would yield the effects of a spiritual origin pearl, I exchanged for one." Xiao Xie said this. "Shiyu, come with me." Lu Changxing let out a breath and spoke to Xiao Xie. Based on her words and the appearance of the heavenly origin precious lotus, he had already surmised a rough idea about the affair with Black Crow True Immortal. He even guessed what might have happened in the secret realm. Chapter 1021, Lu Pingon breaks through foundation establishment, the meaning of cultivation. Chapter 1021, Chapter 363, Lu Pingon breaks through foundation establishment, the meaning of cultivation. This is the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus. Xiao Xie arrived at Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven, and looking at the lotus in the spiritual spring, which was crystal clear and had a jade-like luster, she couldn't help but exclaim. She looked at Lu Changxing with suspicion in her beautiful eyes, wondering what was going on. Although there was definitely more than one Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus in the cultivation world, the lotus before them, in terms of age and size, closely resembled the one taken from the Tianyuan secret realm by Black Crow True Immortal. At this moment, Lu Changxing bringing her to the cave heaven made her suspect that this was the very lotus taken by Black Crow True Immortal. But this lotus was clearly taken by Black Crow True Immortal. Neither her senior sister nor the Supreme Elders had managed to retrieve it, so how could it appear in Lu Changxing's possession? It seems that this Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus indeed came from the secret realm you were exploring, Shiyu. Lu Changxing remarked with emotion. He hadn't expected that the spiritual object he had acquired inadvertently had actually come from the secret realm Xiao Xie had been busy with all these years. Immediately, he explained the details about the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus to Xiao Xie. Upon hearing that her daughter had been captured by Black Crow True Immortal, Xiao Xie felt a chill of fear and looked at her daughter with concern. Wang Shu, are you all right? Mother, I have been fine for a long time. Lu Wangshu responded in such a manner. Then, with a face full of fear and grievance, she said, luckily, father arrived in time, that nasty old man, Wang Shu. Hearing this, Xiao Xie immediately embraced her daughter, feeling guilty and heartbroken. She hadn't expected her daughter to encounter such life-threatening danger while she was away. But this news also amazed her immensely. Lu Changxing had actually killed Black Crow True Immortal. It was known that this Black Crow True Immortal was no ordinary being. He came from a dominant power in the cultivation world of Liang Country, Beast God Mountain. Although he was only at the initial stage of core formation, he was an experienced core formation cultivator and his combat power was formidable. Especially in escaping, he was unmatched. This Devil Path True person was heavily injured at the time, and I seized the chance to slay him when he was unprepared. Seeing Xiao Xie's puzzled look, Lu Changxing explained. Changxing, Wang Shu, you must not let anyone else know about this. Xiao Xie immediately instructed them seriously. Now that the matter of the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus had been settled, with Qingyun's sect believing that some major power was involved, if Qingyun's sect knew that Black Crow True Immortal was slain by Lu Changxing, it would surely bring endless troubles and draw the attention of the four great immortal sects of Jiang Country. I understand. Lu Changxing naturally did. He shared the information about the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus with Xiao Xie because he trusted her and through her, aimed to gain understanding of the matters at hand. Afterward, Xiao Xie disclosed the news about Black Crow True Immortal. Black Crow True Immortal, Beast God Mountain. Lu Changxing's eyebrows rose slightly. He had heard about the Beast God Mountain force in his early years. The sect mainly practiced beast taming, but unlike the spirit taming sect or the beast taming Su family, it focused on integrating demon beasts into one's body and cultivating through them. The specifics, however, were unclear to Lu Changxing. Liang Country is so far from Jiang Country, why would Black Crow True Immortal travel all the way here and appear in the Luoyun Mountain Range secret realm? Lu Changxing found it strange. Liang Country was bordered by Yu Country and Wu Country, forming a tripartite stand. Although travel for nascent soul immortals was convenient, the journey from Liang Country to Jiang Country was still extremely long. This, I'm not sure, it might be related to the wars between Yu Country and Liang Country. Xiao Xie shook her head. Although she was almost involved in the high ranks of Qingyun sect, she was after all still a foundation establishment cultivator and could not know much about the matters at the nascent soul level. Lu Changxing nodded, then turned his attention to Xiao Xie's condition. Xiao Xia mentioned that she had gained quite a lot from this trip to the secret realm and would spend the next period in closed-door cultivation at the sect. If Lu Changxing had any matters, he could find her at Qingyun sect. As for the Tianyuan secret realm, due to the issue with Black Crow True Immortal, it was now controlled jointly by the 4 great immortal sects, and she was unclear about the specific arrangements. Shiyu, can you still get the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus? Lu Changxing asked Xiao Xia. The Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, though average in effect, once elevated to the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, its value and effects were entirely different. It could not only serve as the treasure of spiritual springs, the treasure of the void, and as second Dantian, but it could also be used to cultivate the heavenly longevity technique. Having learned that the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus came from the Luoyun mountain range secret realm, Lu Changxing naturally wanted to know if Xiao Xia could bring back some more. After all, with the myriad spirits bottle, given enough time, he could cultivate multiple Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus plants. Later, with the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, the spiritual energy in Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven could directly reach the 3rd rank. Even possibly, in the future, every genius in his family could have their own second Dantian. Changxing, do you need the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus? Xiao Xia was surprised. Lu Changxing now already had a Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, which would completely make the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus unnecessary. Although the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus had effects similar to those of the spiritual origin pearl, its cost-effectiveness was completely incomparable. She would give the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus to Lu Changxing as a gift, solely because it had nice effects and could be kept in Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven as a decoration. Yes, I have an exotic treasure that accelerates the growth of spirit plants. So I was thinking of trying to cultivate a few Tianyuan Supreme King Lotuses. Lu Changxing said with a light laugh, candidly. Although the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus is easy to keep alive, it grows very slowly. To advance to Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus would take at least a few thousand years, Xiao Xia said softly. Qingyun sect had not harvested the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus initially because the Tianyuan secret realm was extremely suited for its growth. Once transplanted and harvested, allowing the treasure lotus to continue growing would be difficult. I'll just give it a try. Lu Changxing laughed, if it's too troublesome, then never mind. The secret realm is now under the control of the 4 great immortal sects. I'll ask my senior sister about the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus later, to see if it's possible to exchange it for contributions. Chapter 1022, Lu Pingan breaks through foundation establishment, the meaning of cultivation. Chapter 1022, Chapter 363, Lu Pingan breaks through foundation establishment, the meaning of cultivation. Xiao Shiyu fell into a slight reverie before speaking. Shiyu, it's okay, don't force yourself. Lu Changxing spoke up. Knowing about the heavenly origin precious lotus, Xiao Shiyu would find it difficult to obtain. Xiao Shiyu stayed at Bai Lake Mountain for a month before returning to Qingyun sect. During this time, aside from spending time with her daughter, Lu Wangshu, she practiced the Sun-Moon Samsara technique while playing music with Lu Changxing. Lu Changxing also tried to have Xiao Shiyu and Lu Miaoga cultivate the Sun-Moon Samsara technique with him. As for Ling Zixiao, Xiao Shiyu and Ling Zixiao were not yet familiar with each other. Thus, they could only proceed slowly and gradually. Otherwise, Lu Changxing thought that since Xiao Shiyu had a moonlight spirit body and Ling Zixiao a dragon roar physique, their dual cultivation would certainly be effective. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. One day, Lu Changxing came to the Lu family mansion and saw his daughter, Lu Lingyi, practicing her punches and kicks in the backyard. Though she looked adorable with her carved doll-like features and twin buns, her punches and kicks were executed with a vigorous flair. Yet, her immature shouts scattered that aura. Xiaohe, what are you doing? Lu Changxing couldn't help but smile at his daughter's adorable antics. Daddy, this is the bull demon great strength fist I learned today. Lu Lingyi crisply said, striking a pose. She was already of the age to attend school. She had become very interested in martial arts after seeing some at the school recently. Oh, the bull demon great strength fist, come on, let daddy see how well you've learned. Lu Changxing chuckled and gestured for her to come closer. Daddy, take this punch, hey! Lu Lingyi shouted loudly and aimed a flying kick at her father. Yet, before she even reached Lu Changxing, she fell down with a plop. Lu Changxing? He had actually thought his daughter had learned something. This one doesn't count. Lu Lingyi didn't cry or fuss but stubbornly got up quickly, wrinkled her nose, looked up, and said. Then she shouted, hey yo, and charged toward Lu Changxing again, shouting, bull demon head chomp. Lu Changxing twitched the corner of his mouth and raised his hand to hold back his daughter's forehead. Bull demon head chomp. Bull demon hoof stomp. Lu Lingyi stubbornly pushed forward, swinging her little fists wildly but could not touch Lu Changxing at all. Sigh. Lu Changxing shook his head, then picked up his daughter and said, all right, it's time to eat. Is it mealtime already? Lu Lingyi showed a happy smile, slightly out of breath, and holding her father's hand she said, Daddy, when I've eaten and grown up, I'll be able to punch you. All right, eat a lot then. Lu Changxing rubbed his daughter's hair bun. Okay, I'll eat 3 bowls. And I finished the candy you gave me too. Lu Lingyi continued. Good, Daddy will give you another jar later. Lu Changxing said indulgently. Time swiftly passed, and a year went by with winter yielding to spring. The vigorous demon subjugation order in the Jiang country cultivation realm was gradually coming to an end. During this period, many demonic and robber cultivators were struck down. But this also led to many demonic and robber cultivators retaliating against marketplaces and family forces, plundering them. Red Leaf Valley Market had been attacked by demonic cultivators half a year ago, leaving Lu Yuanzhong severely injured. If not for the talismans given by Lu Changxing, Lu Yuanzhong might have died there. Thus, in the following time, Lu Miaoge also went to Red Leaf Valley Market to maintain order, to prevent any miscreants from causing trouble. In those times, Bai Lake Mountain was very peaceful, with no incidents occurring. As usual, Lu Changxing conducted alchemy, talisman making, artifact refining, and spent time with his wives and children. In this year, Lu Changxing only had 3 more children. But the 3rd generation of the Lu family had already unknowingly surpassed 400 members. Yet the system had not granted any subsidiary money. It is worth mentioning that not long ago, Xia Ziyu's brother, Xia Zhaoyang, achieved foundation establishment. He came to Bai Lake Mountain to pay his respects and invited Lu Changxing and her sister to Qingyun's sect to join in his minor celebration. When they arrived at Qingyun's sect for the celebration, Lu Changxing and Xia Zhiyue learned news. Xia Zhaoyang, due to his commendable performance during the demon subjugation missions, caught the eye of a false core elder of the enforcement hall. With this breakthrough in foundation establishment, he became an executor in the enforcement hall. Although just a junior executor, it was still a significant position. His future status in Qingyun's sect would be much higher than that of cultivators like Xiao Qingqing. Afterward, Lu Changxing accompanied the siblings to pay homage to their father, Xia Long. Dad, my husband has been very good to me, and now both Xiaoyang and I have achieved foundation establishment. You can rest in peace. Xia Zhiyue and Xia Zhaoyang knelt before their father's tombstone. Xia Long, coming from a loose cultivator background, now had both children achieve foundation establishment. Indeed, he could rest in peace. After all, such a feat, let alone in a loose cultivator, even in an energy refining family, it would be considered as the ancestral grave emitting a bluish smoke. When Lu Changxing and Xia Zhiyue returned to Bai Lake Mountain, they received a message from their son, Lu Pingan. He shared that he had reached perfected qi refinement and was ready for foundation establishment. Normally, given Lu Pingan's cultivation speed, he should have reached perfection long ago. But due to switching to practice the Black Dragon Codex, anchoring in White Tiger Mountain, and strengthening his foundation, quite some time was consumed. Zi Shao, Pingan has sent a letter preparing for foundation establishment, so you will need to head to White Tiger Mountain to hold the fort for the time being. Having read the letter, Lu Changxing found Ling Zixiao and spoke. Now as the demon subjugation order neared its end, they still couldn't neglect the issues caused by demonic and robber cultivators. Previously, with Lu Pingan and the 9 Netherhound holding the fort, he had been very reassured. But now that Lu Pingan would return to Bai Lake Mountain for foundation establishment, someone naturally needed to hold the fort at White Tiger Mountain. Chapter 1023, Lu Pingan's Breakthrough in Foundation Establishment, The Meaning of Cultivation. Chapter 1023, Chapter 363, Lu Pingan's Breakthrough in Foundation Establishment, The Meaning of Cultivation. All right. Ling Zixiao nodded in agreement after hearing this. Although there were quite a few foundation establishment cultivators at home, Lu Miaoge was presiding over the Red Leaf Valley market now. Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoyun, and Chu Zhenjin could not leave. Li Xingrua, Xia Zizhu, and Bai Ling were not adept at fighting techniques, so she alone had to head to White Tiger Mountain. Soon after, Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao went together to White Tiger Mountain. As for the Bai Lake Mountain side, Lu Changxing was rather at ease. After all, with so many foundation establishment cultivators at home and the Mount Summer Tree King overseeing, he could rush back in case of any emergency. Father, aunt, Lu Pingan, Lu Qingsong, and others rushed to greet Lu Changxing as soon as they heard he was coming. Lu Changxing asked about the general situation at White Tiger Mountain and had his son Lu Qingsong hand over the great formation to Ling Zixiao. Then he took Lu Pingan back to Bai Lake Mountain for foundation establishment. 2 months later, Lu Pingan successfully achieved foundation establishment, forming the Black Dragon Dao Foundation. During the ritual of foundation establishment, which stripped away his mortal shell, Lu Pingan's 100 refinements treasure body art broke through to the 7th layer. Immediately, Lu Changxing not only gained a dense surge of mana that advanced his cultivation level, but his 100 refinements treasure body art reached the peak of the 8th level. He was just 1 step away from breaking through the 3rd rank with his body refinement. He didn't even need Lu Pingan's 100 refinements treasure body art to break through to the 8th level. As long as Lu Wangshu, or he himself, worked hard for a few years, his 100 refinements treasure body art was likely to break through to the 9th layer. Father. Lu Pingan stepped out of the cabin, bowing respectfully to Lu Changxing. Having just achieved his breakthrough, he exuded an imposing aura, majestic and commanding. This was the effect of the Black Dragon Codex. The process of cultivation aimed at transforming into a true dragon had endowed him with a bit of dragon prestige. Lu Changxing, accustomed to seeing his son's gentle and tolerant demeanor, now found this new appearance slightly jarring. Good. Lu Changxing nodded and instructed Lu Pingan to continue consolidating his realm. Yes. Lu Pingan nodded and returned inside the cabin to consolidate his realm. Seeing his son enter the cabin, Lu Changxing was reminded of the time his wife, Lu Lanshu, was pregnant with this son. Though he had come to Qingzhou Mountain as a son-in-law without much affection arranged by the Lu family, the moment he learned he was to be a father, he felt an uncontrollable, heartfelt joy. He still remembered how anxious and nervous he felt outside the delivery room when Lu Pingan was about to be born. Time flies, Lu Changxing remarked somewhat sentimentally. Over 40 years had passed, and he had transformed from a son-in-law in Qingzhou Mountain to a revered elder. His eldest son under his guidance had also progressed from a mortal with no spiritual root to a foundation establishment cultivator. A month later, Lu Pingan emerged from seclusion. His Bodhis mana aura was restrained, and the fierce and imposing demeanor had vanished. His originally regular facial features now had sharper contours. Your mother has always hoped you would succeed in cultivation. Now that you have achieved foundation establishment, you should inform her. Lu Changxing looked at his son, pleased with his appearance. It had been quite some time since he visited Rui Prefecture. Thinking that his son had just achieved foundation establishment, he decided it was a good opportunity to visit Rui Prefecture. Right. Lu Pingan nodded upon hearing this. In earlier years, he often returned to visit his mother, brother, and sister. But having been stationed at White Tiger Mountain in recent years, he had not been to Rui Prefecture for some time. With that, Lu Changxing and Lu Pingan left by Lake Mountain, piloting the spirit boat toward Rui Prefecture. Lu Lanshu, Lu Qing'er, and Lu Zier had been residing at Bai Lake Mountain. But perhaps ultimately due to the separation between immortals and mortals, the women felt somewhat ill at ease and moved to Rui Prefecture under the pretext of staying close to their children in the secular world. Father and son piloted the spirit boat to Rui County City. Lu Changxing thought back to his previous visits when his wives and children gradually aged, as his appearance seemed even older than his children, prompting a sigh as he gently touched his face. Instantly, his youthful countenance aged, appearing around 50. But his eyes shimmered with the presence of an immortal, donned in a green magical robe, exuding an elegant and unworldly charm that made him stand out. Dad? Lu Pingan paused when he saw Lu Changsheng's action, tempted to imitate. You don't need to. Lu Changsheng glanced at his son and simply advised. Both soared through the sky toward the Lu residence. Previously, Lu Changxing had Ling Zixiao set up a simple formation around the Lu residence to ward off petty thieves. However, such formations naturally had no effect on him. Lan Shu. Lu Changxing softly called out to a woman in her 40s or 50s with a fair complexion, dignified and commanding, dressed in a deep turquoise palace dress, holding a civet cat, in the backyard. Greetings, mother. Lu Pingan stepped forward and bowed. Seeing his significantly aged mother, he felt a heavy heart. He knew that as humans aged, the effectiveness of elixir medicines like preserving youth pills and other age-defying pills would gradually weaken. Husband? Pingan. Lu Lanshu showed a mix of surprise and joy upon seeing them. Not only surprised by Lu Chan. Chapter 1024, Lu Pingan's Breakthrough in Foundation Establishment, The Meaning of Cultivation. _4 Chapter 1024, Chapter 363, Lu Pingan's Breakthrough in Foundation Establishment, The Meaning of Cultivation. _4 Even though she had taken the preserving youth pills given by Lu Changxing, making her appear much younger than her actual age, there was still a pressure she felt in the presence of Lu Changxing. My return this time is to bring you some good news. Lu Changxing chuckled softly and spoke. Good news? Is it related to Pingan? Lu Lanshu immediately looked at her son and guessed aloud. As Lu Changsheng's wife, who had managed the secular Lu family in her earlier years, she was no ignorant woman. Pingan. Lu Changxing prompted his son to speak for himself. Mother, I have recently broken through to the foundation establishment stage. Lu Pingan grinned at his mother as he spoke. From a young age, he knew that his mother had always hoped to give birth to a child with a spiritual root. She was overjoyed to the point of tears when she learned he possessed a spiritual root. Before he left for Qingzhou Mountain, she constantly reminded him to listen to his father as well as Auntie Miaoga and Aunt Miao Yun, among others. Every time he returned home in his early years, his mother would inquire about his cultivation progress. Because in her heart, all things were inferior, only cultivation was supreme. Now that he had broken through to foundation establishment, he had fulfilled one of his mother's wishes. Foundation establishment stage? Foundation establishment, Pingan, are you referring to the foundation establishment ancestors level of foundation establishment? Upon hearing this, Lu Lanshu suddenly covered her mouth in astonishment, her face full of disbelief. Though she was immortal, she was very clear about this common cultivation knowledge. She was still getting updates about the cultivation world from the Rui Marquis mansion, and she understood what foundation establishment represented. That was why she found it so unbelievable now. After all, there were not many foundation establishment ancestors throughout Qingzhou Mountain and Bai Lake Mountain. And now, her son, at the age of 43, had become an exalted foundation establishment ancestor. Yes. Lu Pingan grinned as he replied. My son has actually broken through to foundation establishment. I've heard foundation establishment allows one to fly through the sky. Pingan, show your mother. Lu Lanshu was extremely excited, and she lost her composure completely. Immediately, Lu Pingan levitated into the air with his mother, confirming this point, but Lu Lanshu still felt as if she were dreaming. Were it not for Lu Changsheng's instruction to keep the matter secret for now, Lu Lanshu would have wished to announce it to the entire family and tell everyone in the world that her son had broken through to foundation establishment. However, hearing that the matter concerned the family's future, she understood the gravity of the situation and promised not to reveal it. But Lu Changxing also stated that he would announce his son's breakthrough in a few years and hold a ceremony. After all, wealth and honor unacknowledged in one's hometown are like dressing in fine robes at night. He may not care for such things, but Lu Lanshu still wished to witness her son's foundation establishment celebration. After a brief explanation, Lu Lanshu notified the family that Lu Changsheng and Lu Pingan had returned. Greetings, father. Big brother. Grandfather, uncle. Although many branches had split off from the secular Lu family, as the main line in Rui County City, there were still many Lu family disciples at home. These people came one after another to greet Lu Changsheng. Some came out of concern and longing for Lu Changsheng as a father, and for Lu Pingan as a big brother, but most of the children, having been sent away from the secular world at a young age, rarely met and looked at Lu Changsheng with a mix of awe and unfamiliarity. Lu Changsheng, seeing this, let out a deep sigh, his heart growing increasingly sentimental. This was also the reason he seldom visited Rui Prefecture. Even though he believed his nature had become more indifferent over time, faced with this situation, he still couldn't help but sigh. After all, the birth of these children all included his personal desires and purposiveness. Although he could grant these children wealth and glory, he could not fully let go in his heart. Not just Lu Changsheng, but Lu Pingan, too, felt a heavy heart facing this situation. He deeply understood the meaning of the division between immortals and mortals. This was just between mortals and foundation establishment. If it were core formation, nascent soul, or the legendary divinity transformation, it would be akin to a chasm dividing heaven and earth. After all, a nascent soul immortal with a lifespan of 500 years could sit back and watch countless rises and falls. Father, without a spiritual root, is one unable to cultivate and embark upon the path to immortality? At night, after the family banquet, Lu Pingan looked at his father and spoke with a heavy heart. Today, many of his younger brothers and sisters sought him out to catch up, but as they talked, he gradually fell silent. Man is the master of his fate. It may not be possible now, but it might be in the future. Lu Changxing spoke softly, able to understand his son's feelings. Man is the master of his fate. Upon hearing this, Lu Pingan clenched his fists. He had broken through to foundation establishment, but, apart from the case where his father had given him a spiritual root, he had never heard of such a thing happening. Many things might be beyond our ability now. But the meaning of cultivation lies in the fact that with enough strength, one can rectify regrets and achieve all that is wonderful. One day, if you become an immortal, perhaps with a flick of your fingers, you could enable mortals to cultivate or even revive those you cannot bear to lose from the river of time. Lu Changxing looked at the night sky as he spoke. People had to learn to console themselves. He was consoling himself in this way. One day, as long as he became an immortal, standing at the pinnacle of the immortal path, he could rectify all that was wonderful, leaving no regrets in life. And with the system at his side, he believed he could accomplish this. The meaning of cultivation, to rectify regrets and beauty. Lu Pingan, hearing these words, gazed at the starry night sky and murmured to himself. After a moment, he saw Lu Changxing leaving and, with a resolute clench of his fist, said, "Father, I understand." Chapter 1025, Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. Chapter 1025, Chapter 364, Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. By Yun Peak, Alchemy Hall. 9 dragon heads spewed raging flames, above which a bronze cauldron was set. Spiritual liquid boiled inside the cauldron as Lu Changxing threw in various precious and valuable spiritual medicines, spirit fruits, monster cores, demon beast skeletons, and more. He was preparing a medicinal bath for his son Lu Lingxiao and daughter Lu Lingyi. Ever since learning about the medicinal bath technique, he had wanted to give some of his talented children a medicinal baptism. However, previous baths, aside from those for Lu Wangshu and Lu Xingchen, were ordinary baptisms. The spiritual medicines and spirit stones used before didn't even compare to what he was using now. On the one hand, indeed, these two children had exceptional talents, and he wanted to give them a head start. On the other hand, this was also about the relationship with Ling Zixiao. After all, children with good talents, and those who were children of his Tao companion, would spend more time with him, so he was inevitably biased. As time passed, the spiritual liquid in the cauldron turned into a dark, thick, and turbid color. Then, Lu Changxing opened several porcelain bottles and poured them one by one into the cauldron. Buzz! At that moment, the ancient beast taming charm shimmered, and a faint figure appeared, looking sublimely beautiful, slender, noble, and uniquely graceful. She cast spell after spell towards the bronze cauldron. Buzz buzz buzz, the cauldron immediately began to hum and tremble. The liquid inside roared and splashed, gleaming with a radiant light, making the phantom images of the 9 Netherhound, Heavenly Demon Phoenix, Iron-Eating Beast, and Mount Sumer Tree King appear intermittently. The originally dark and viscous liquid gradually turned light gold, emitting a strong, aromatic scent. Young master, the elixirs are ready, you can enter the cauldron now. Hong Lian's voice was soft and pleasing. Lu Changxing nodded, looked towards his side, and called out to his son, who was pursing his lips with bright eyes, shower. Dad, I'm ready. Lu Lingxiao nodded as he spoke. He was only 9 years old but looked as tall as a normal adolescent. Dressed in a cyan robe, his youthful face carried a hint of valor. Hearing Lu Changsheng's words, he directly leaped into the boiling bronze cauldron. He knew that once he completed the medicinal bath baptism, he could begin cultivating. Hiss! As Lu Lingxiao entered the cauldron, his body instantly became scalding hot, and his skin turned red. He groaned softly. Although the medicinal bath was extremely hot, it would not scald anyone. Instead, it transformed into a surging force of medicinal power, cleaning and strengthening his body, limbs, bones, and dantian. Daddy, will brother get boiled? Lu Lingyi, wearing a lotus dress and tying 2 buns, biting her fingers, looked at the bubbling bronze cauldron and spoke with fear. Of course not, it's just like taking a bath. Xiaohe will grow up quickly after the bath. And the liquid inside tastes really good. Lu Changxing laughed as he heard his daughter's words. As children, the siblings grew up consuming various heavenly and earthly treasures, treating strengthening and essence-cultivating elixirs like candy. These elixirs and treasures might not be fully absorbed and used. This medicinal bath baptism not only helped them refine all the medicine power within their bodies but also improved their talents. Once the medicinal bath was over, both could begin cultivating directly. There was no need, like most children, to wait until 12 years old for their meridians and dantian to withstand nature's spiritual energy. Xiaohe, it's okay. Ling Zixiao, who had been holding her daughter's shoulders, spoke softly. She fully understood how much Lu Changxing had spent on this cauldron bath. Not just nearly 100,000 spirit stones worth of heaven and earth spiritual materials. He also extracted essence blood from the 9 Netherhound, Heavenly Demon Phoenix, Cold Blue Dark Turtle, Iron-Eating Beast, Mount Sumer Tree King, and Abyssal Ghoul Blossoms. Brother, are you getting cooked? Lu Lingyi expressed disbelief and shouted loudly to her brother inside the cauldron. No, Lu Lingxiao remained silent for a moment before gritting his teeth and uttering 2 words. Daddy, Mommy, brother seems getting cooked. Lu Lingyi immediately looked up and said. Seeing her daughters dilly-dallying, and Hong Lian waiting by the side, Ling Zixiao directly clenched her teeth, picked her up, and with a plop, threw her into the cauldron. Ah, Daddy, Mommy, it's so hot. Unlike Lu Lingxiao, who held his breath and endured, Lu Lingyi immediately cried out in discomfort. Xiaohe, be good, after the bath, you will grow up quickly. Lu Changxing immediately soothed her. Buzz. Hong Lian cast more spells into the bronze cauldron, causing the medicinal liquid to boil continuously and radiate luminous light. Young master, it's ready now. She spoke and then her figure returned to the ancient beast taming charm. Without Su Ruyan, she could not stay away from the ancient beast taming charm for long, and casting these spells drained her significantly. Hong Lian, thank you for your hard work. Lu Changxing nodded as he spoke, holding the ancient beast taming charm in his palm. Daddy lied, the liquid doesn't taste good at all, it's so bitter. After a while, Lu Ling's face turned red, as if she was drunk, and she said in grievance to Lu Changxing. Lu Changxing stayed silent for a moment, then a bottle appeared in his hand, and he poured out to strengthen the essence and cultivate the origin pills, shouting to his daughter in the cauldron, Xiaohe, open your mouth. Baiu. After Lu Lingyi consumed the pills, she immediately shouted loudly, Daddy, I want to eat more. Seeing her husband feeding their daughter treats, Ling Zixiao wanted to say something, but was at a loss for words, only able to sigh with a hand on her forehead. And so, time passed bit by bit, the medicinal bath roared and boiled, luminescence surged, washing marrow and cleansing for the siblings, allowing them to undergo a transformative rebirth. Lu Lingxiao clenched his teeth and endured the medicinal bath baptism. Previously, Lu Wangshu told him, the reason she was so impressive was that, during her medicinal bath baptism, she stayed fully conscious and completed the transformative rebirth. Chapter 1026, Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. Chapter 1026, Chapter 364, Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. And he was determined to surpass this older sister of his and suppress her, naturally not willing to be weaker than her. Lu Lingyi, however, had no idea when he had fallen into a deep slumber. Buzz, 2 days later, a vigorous and domineering aura suddenly emanated from Lu Lingxiao's body. Is this the Dragon Roar physique? Ling Zixiao sensed this familiar aura and abruptly turned her gaze toward her son, her face filled with surprise and astonishment. She had not expected her son to have the Dragon Roar physique just like herself. This made her ecstatic and overwhelmingly delighted. Her son, with a first-grade spiritual root and nurtured meticulously by herself and Lu Changxing, was destined for the core formation stage. Now seeing that her son possessed the Dragon Roar physique, she felt it was not just hopeful for core formation. Rather, it was a certainty that he would achieve core formation, and even had the potential to become a nascent soul true lord. The Dragon Roar physique has awakened? Lu Changxing paused, also somewhat taken aback by the surprise. He hadn't expected that, under the influence of the medicinal bath, his son's Dragon Roar physique would awaken. You must know, the Dragon Roar physique is a recessive spiritual body, which would gradually awaken as one grows and practices cultivation. His son was only 9 years old, not yet having started his cultivation journey. How could the Dragon Roar physique awaken so soon? However, the next moment, Lu Changxing realized that it must be due to his son's Dragon Roar physique being incomplete, an incomplete Dragon Roar physique, and therefore different from the norm. Not good. Lu Changxing immediately looked towards the bronze cauldron where his daughter Lu Lingyi lay unconscious, summoned his great hand of magical power, and lifted her out. The early awakening of the Dragon Roar physique in his son was naturally a good thing. But if his daughter's Dragon Roar physique were to awaken early, that would not be good at all. The Dragon Roar physique was only suitable for the male body. If a daughter had the Dragon Roar physique, it would be a curse rather than a blessing. He hadn't yet perfected his yin-yang creation scripture, unable to completely resolve the issue of the Dragon Roar physique. Buzz. However, at this very moment, a fierce yet faint aura had already started to permeate from Lu Ling's body. How can this be? Ling Zixiao, upon seeing Lu Changxing's actions and still somewhat puzzled as to why he took the daughter out of the medicinal bath, abruptly sensed the familiar aura coming from her daughter's body, and her delighted expression instantly changed. Then, Hong Lian's soul observed the condition of Lu Lingxiao and Lu Lingyi and spoke out, Lord, Ling Xiao and Ling's Dragon Roar physiques must be with flaw, incomplete Dragon Roar physiques, which is why they awakened under the influence of the medicinal bath. She had provided the medicinal bath technique, so naturally, she felt the need to give an explanation. I know. Lu Changxing nodded and said. He, of course, knew his children's Dragon Roar physiques were incomplete, both being incomplete spirit physiques. Lord, Ling Zixiao looked at Lu Lingyi and Lu Changsheng's arms, biting her lip, her face full of heartache. This daughter of hers was not very clever to start with, and now, also burdened with the dragon roar physique, it made her heart ache beyond measure. It's okay, I was well aware of Ziahe's dragon roar physique, I just didn't expect the medicinal bath to stimulate it and cause an early awakening. Zixiao, rest assured, once I finish my cultivation technique transformation, it'll be able to resolve your and Ziahe's dragon roar physique. Lu Changsheng held his daughter, reassuring his wife. If it had been before, he might have been worried about this situation. But now, as long as he completed his cultivation of the Yin-Yang Creation Classic, he could attempt to resolve the dragon roar physique. He might not be able to completely resolve it at the foundation establishment stage, but as long as he achieved a breakthrough in core formation, he would have a 70 to 80% certainty. Lord, you can resolve it? Ling Zixiao immediately recalled Lu Changsheng mentioning before that once he finished his transformation of the cultivation technique, he would have a way to resolve the dragon roar physique. Chapter 1027, Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. Chapter 1027, Chapter 364, Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. Just for a moment, she was so anxious that she forgot about the issue. Of course, it was also because her subconscious assumed that the method her husband used to resolve the dragon roar physique issue relied on the dragon invocation technique, a dual cultivation technique. Alright, once I perfect my cultivation technique, I will be able to balance yin and yang, resolving the issue of the dragon roar physique. Lu Changsheng nodded, infusing yin-yang magic power into his daughter's body to balance her dragon roar physique. Dad, Mom, what's wrong with Xiaohe? At this moment, Lu Lingxiao, who was in the medicinal bath, opened his eyes, asking with some pain. Although the medicinal bath would not cause his body to explode and die, the baptism process was still very painful, causing one to easily fall unconscious. Xiaohe is not well and unsuited for the medicinal bath. Shower, concentrate on your baptism. Ling Zixiao spoke out, telling her son not to worry. Lu Lingyi and Lu Changsheng's embrace, somewhat groggily opened her sleepy eyes. But seeing herself lying in her daddy's arms, she immediately smacked her lips a few times and nuzzled her little head in Lu Changsheng's embrace before falling asleep again. It's alright, at most she'll start her cultivation a few years later, it won't have any impact. Lu Changsheng continued to reassure Ling Zixiao. Ling Zixiao nodded. Although Lu Changsheng said he could resolve his daughter's situation, seeing his daughter like this, she was still exceedingly heartbroken. A day later, Lu Lingxiao was lifted out of the bronze cauldron by Lu Changsheng. Following the medicinal bath baptism and the awakening of the dragon roar physique, he too fell unconscious. Lu Changsheng could clearly see that his son's fair skin was glowing, crystal clear and shiny, just like warm jade. The meridians and dantian not only flowed with pure and rich spiritual energy but were also filled with strands of intense dragon roar of yang energy. As long as this son began his cultivation, practicing yang attribute-based cultivation techniques would allow him to make rapid progress, advancing by leaps and bounds. Afterward, Lu Changsheng checked the status of his son's dragon roar physique. Just as I had guessed, Lu Changsheng narrowed his eyes slightly. Being a bearer of the dragon roar physique himself, he could clearly discern the differences within his son's dragon roar physique. Indeed, as he had previously conjectured, his son's dragon roar of yang energy lacked nourishment for the flesh and muscles. Overall, the effects were much worse than his own. But it could also be because his son was still young and had not started cultivation, so the full effects of the dragon roar physique had not been fully manifested. Regardless, Lingxiao's talent is destined to be extraordinary, and in the future, he will become the mainstay of the Lu family. Lu Changsheng did not dwell on the matter too much. Even if his son did not possess the dragon roar physique, just having a first-grade spiritual root was already quite remarkable. Even if this dragon roar physique was incomplete, it would not be worse than a medium-grade spirit body, and it might even have the effects of a superior spirit body. Zixiao, I wish for Shao to take Senior Red Lotus as his master, what do you think? At this time, Lu Changxing conveyed his thoughts to Ling Zixiao, inquiring. After obtaining the Dragon Roar physique, he knew that techniques related to yang, fire, and thunder elements were the most suitable for his son. The cultivation techniques he possessed at the moment were indeed not as fitting for Lu Lingxiao as Vermilion Bird Sky-Scorching Art from Senior Red Lotus. Therefore, he thought of allowing Lu Lingxiao to take Senior Red Lotus as a master to instruct him. Not only would he find a teacher for his son, but his bond with Red Lotus would also deepen. Having interacted for so long, Lu Changxing still couldn't understand why Red Lotus, a nascent soul true lord, was so obedient to him. Although his charisma was not bad, and he could reconstruct her physical body in the future, it shouldn't be to this extent, right? So, he also wished to further deepen their relationship. Taking Red Lotus as a master? Hearing this, Ling Zixiao immediately said, for Shao to take Senior Red Lotus as a master would be fantastic. Although Red Lotus showed no airs around Lu Changxing, they still held great respect and reverence for her. If her son could take a nascent soul true lord as a master, she naturally saw it as a great opportunity. Good. Lu Changxing nodded, looking towards the ancient beast taming charm and inquiring to Red Lotus, what do you think of Lingxiao? Lingxiao possesses a first-grade spiritual root and the Dragon Roar physique. Naturally, his talent is exceptional. Red Lotus perceived the implication in Lu Changxing's words and replied thus. I mean to ask if you, Red Lotus, would be willing to take Lingxiao as a disciple. Lu Changxing said thoughtfully. If it pleases you, Red Lotus is naturally willing. Red Lotus responded immediately upon hearing this. Although she did not have any intentions to take on disciples, Lu Lingxiao's talent wasn't enough to make her want to cherish him and take him as a disciple. But if Lu Changxing was willing to entrust this son to her tutelage, taking her as a master, she was quite pleased. After all, the relationship between a master and disciple in the cultivation world is special, akin to that of parents and children. If she were to become Lu Lingxiao's Shirmu, her relationship with Lu Changxing would also grow closer. Alright, in that case, when Shao awakes, I will have him take you as a master. Lu Changxing, hearing this, showed a faint smile on his face. 6 days later, Lu Changxing received a message from Ling Zixiao, informing him that their son Lu Lingxiao had awakened. He couldn't help feeling sentimental that his son had slept for quite a while. You must know, his daughter Lu Wangshu only slept for 3 days and nights. However, considering that the medicinal bath he prepared was intended for 2 people, but as Lu Lingyi, due to the Dragon Roar physique, was removed halfway through, the rest of the medicinal bath was mostly absorbed and baptized by Lu Lingxiao alone, who awakened the Dragon Roar physique. So, it was normal for him to sleep a bit longer. He arrived at the courtyard and immediately saw Ling Zixiao talking with their 2 children, mother and son. Mother, don't worry, I will definitely take good care of my sister. Lu Lingxiao said with a serious face. My lord. Dad, Daddy. Upon seeing Lu Changxing approaching, all 3 of them called out immediately. Chapter 1028, Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. _4 Chapter 1028, Chapter 364, Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. _4 Lu Changxing caught sight of his son Lu Lingxiao and paused. He noticed that his son's originally clear, distinct black and white eyes had turned a light golden color. In earlier years, he had noted that his son's eyes sometimes shimmered with a faint golden luster. But now they had completely changed to gold, like amber in the sunlight, giving off a divine and majestic aura. My lord, Shao's eyes turned this way after he woke up, but upon checking, I didn't find anything unusual. Ling Zixiao communicated to Lu Changxing telepathically, somewhat worried. Hong Lian, do you know what this is about? Lu Changxing held the ancient beast taming charm in his hand, turning to question Hong Lian. This could be due to the recent awakening of the spiritual body, or it could be because there is a flaw within the spiritual body, Hong Lian spoke softly. The spiritual body was truly mystical, even as a nascent soul true lord, she found it difficult to fully understand the situation. Moreover, now that she was only a soul, she could not examine Lu Lingxiu's condition in detail. A flaw in the spiritual body. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing looked at his son and laughed. Xiao's eyes certainly are extraordinary and full of valor. In the future, upon seeing them, others will know that Lu Changxing has a Qilin son. He didn't feel much about these golden eyes. He just thought it was obvious that they were extraordinary and might easily cause trouble to arise. Daddy, what about me, what about me? Upon hearing this, Lu Lingyi immediately ran in front of Lu Changxing, puffing out her chest, urging her father to take a good look and praise her. Ha ha ha, my Xiaohe is clever and lovely, innocent and carefree, who wouldn't like her? Daddy loves Xiaohe the most. Lu Changxing, seeing his daughter's adorable manner, ruffled her hair bun and spoke with a laugh. After a pleasant family chat, Lu Changxing called out to Lu Lingxiao, "Xiaoer, come with me." Originally, he had planned to start both siblings on their cultivation journey together. However, due to the condition of his daughter Lu Lingyi, her cultivation had to be put on hold. After all, if his daughter started cultivating and it led to the awakening of the dragon roar physique, it would definitely cause some trouble. Dad. Lu Lingxiao, hearing his father's words, promptly followed Lu Changxing into the hall. You are about to begin your cultivation, and I have found you a master. Lu Changxing spoke, raising his hand slightly, and the ancient beast taming charm shimmered, bringing forth the sacred and noble, ethereal figure of Hong Lian. Lu Lingxiao immediately looked at the figure standing before him, clad in splendid palace robes, with exquisite and stunning features and an intangible form. Seeing Hong Lian's crimson pupils, he thought of his own light golden eyes reflected in the mirror earlier and felt a sudden pause in his heart. This is your master, Hong Lian. Lu Changxing turned to his son and said, Go on, greet your master. Disciple Lu Lingxiao, greets master. Lu Lingxiao immediately took a step back and knelt down to pay respects to Hong Lian, performing the grand gesture of acknowledging a master. Lu Lingxiao knew of the high and noble status of Hong Lian, as his mother Ling Zixiao had informed him earlier, aware that becoming her disciple would greatly help his future cultivation. Good, from now on, you are my disciple. Hong Lian accepted the homage with grace, her voice elegant and noble. Then, with a gentle lift of her hand, Rise, I have no gift to give you, so I shall guide you in your cultivation instead. Yes, master. Lu Lingxiao stood and responded. Following this, Hong Lian began to teach Lu Lingxiao cultivation. Often, those with good talent also possessed good comprehension. Under Hong Lian's guidance, Lu Lingxiao began cultivating within an hour. Even before he had absorbed any of nature's spiritual energy, the mere spiritual energy and dragon roar of yang energy surging within him allowed him to complete the channel qi into the body process. Moreover, both Hong Lian and Lu Changxing could see that, with Lu Lingxiu's way of cultivation, it probably wouldn't take him long to make a breakthrough. Lu Changxing felt that, at the rate of his son Lu Lingxiu's cultivation, he would likely break through into foundation establishment by his 20s. Indeed, if hard work was enough, then what would be the need for talent? Lu Changxing shook his head lightly. Seeing his children become increasingly talented, he deeply realized that effort was almost insignificant in the face of absolute talent. Then, he handed the ancient beast taming charm to his son Lu Lingxiao so that he could consult Hong Lian should any issues arise. Chapter 1029, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. Chapter 1029, Chapter 365, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. Congratulations to the host, your first descendant has become a second-grade talisman master. You've earned one lottery draw opportunity. That day, while Lu Changxing was training in the 100 Refinements treasure body art, he suddenly heard a system prompt. Wang Shu has advanced to a second-grade talisman master, huh? A smile crept onto Lu Changsheng's face, and he instantly knew his daughter, Lu Wangshu, had become a second-grade talisman master. After the incident with the Black Crow True Immortal years ago, his daughter Lu Wangshu had become much more diligent. Though she still had a playful streak in her. She was no longer like she used to be, interested in everything, wasting her talent and time. Most of her focus was now on cultivation and the talisman path. However, becoming a second-grade talisman master only gets a regular lottery draw. Lu Changxing thought about how previously, when his son Lu Pingan had broken through to the second-order body refining, the system had given an advanced-level lottery draw. Is talisman making one rank below body refining? Or is it that all these are considered part of the 100 arts of cultivation and are counted together? After pondering for a moment, Lu Changxing cursed, "Damn system," and got up to visit his daughter. Having become a second-grade talisman master, she must be thrilled and wanting to share her happiness with him. Sure enough, as he arrived at Lu Wangshu's courtyard, he immediately saw his daughter with a look of joy and happiness on her face. "Xiaohe, this is the first second-rank spirit talisman that sister has drawn. Once I become Jiang country's #1 talisman cultivator in the future, this talisman will be priceless. No need for 98,000 or 9,800, just 998. Lu Wangshu held a spirit talisman in her hand, sharing her joy with her younger sister Lu Lingyi. "But sister, I don't have that many spirit stones." Lu Lingyi, somewhat moved by her sister's words, glanced at her own purse and said weakly. "You can go ask daddy for some." Thump. Lu Changxing stepped forward immediately, knocked on Lu Wangshu's head, and said aloud, "Lu Wangshu, you really got some nerve, actually tricking Xiaohe out of her spirit stones." Although his daughter Lu Lingyi, because of her dragon roar physique, was not cultivating, Lu Changxing still allowed the family to give her a share of cultivation resources every month to save as her own little treasure trove. "Dad, how can you say I'm tricking her? It's clearly keeping the resources within the family. By the time I become Jiang country's #1 talisman cultivator, others will be clamoring for a talisman drawn by the young fairy maiden Wangshu." Lu Wangshu retorted with an unconvinced look on her face. "Besides, if I don't become the #1 talisman cultivator in Jiang country because you keep knocking on my head, you'll have nowhere to cry when the time comes." "Lu Wangshu, when did I ever realize how vain you are, talking about being the #1 talisman cultivator in Jiang country? Where do you put your father then?" Lu Changxing was amused by his daughter's words. "Humph, Dad, don't you think that being known as the father of Jiang country's #1 talisman cultivator sounds even better than being the top talisman cultivator yourself?" Lu Wangshu wrapped her arm around her old father's arm, speaking out. Hiss. Lu Changxing, upon hearing his daughter's words, stroked his chin, feeling that she made quite a point. If his children, each with their exceptional talents, made great achievements in the core formation nascent soul stage and excelled in the 100 arts of cultivation, couldn't he boast that before him stood the Southern Wilderness #1 body cultivator, the #1 sword cultivator, the #1 talisman cultivator, the #1 tool cultivator, the #1 goo cultivator, with 10 true monarchs and over 100 real immortals from the Lu family's ancestor. Cough, cough. Lu Changxing dismissed the thoughts and asked his daughter, "Wangshu, did I just hear you say you've drawn a second-rank spirit talisman?" Although he already knew through the system, to satisfy his daughter's vanity and share in her joy, he was still willing to play along as a doting father. Humph. Lu Wangshu proudly puffed out her chest, lifted her delicate chin, and handed the second-rank spirit talisman she had drawn to her old father. "Wangshu, did you draw this?" Lu Changxing feigned a surprised and delighted expression. "Emichim." Lu Wangshu's mouth curved into a smile, gently nodding her head, the picture of grace and composure. "Good, good, good. My daughter fairy maiden Wangshu truly deserves to be Jiang country's future top talisman cultivator, no, the top one in the southern wilderness. With such talent, your father is humble before you." Lu Changxing praised her loudly. His daughter reaching second-grade talisman master status at her age was a mark of genius no matter where she was. This was when Lu Wangshu had been playful in her early years and not very interested in talisman making. Otherwise, with her talent for the talisman path, she probably would have achieved second grade a lot earlier. Of course, part of this was thanks to the 99 mystical talisman scripture. This talisman path technique required much time to understand spiritual patterns in the early stages, far more profound than typical second-rank talisman traditions. It was for this reason that Lu Wangsha's progress in cultivation and talisman path was slower. But Li Changxing was not worried about the cultivation aspects. As long as his daughter built a solid foundation in the talisman path, once she achieved foundation establishment and formed her life-bound divine talisman, all those spiritual patterns would become her foundation. During her regular talisman-making process, she could condense mystical talisman qi to turn into her own cultivation and magical power. Lu Wangshu was very happy with Lu Changsheng's praise. However, Lu Changsheng also didn't forget about his other daughter Lu Lingyi, inquiring about her recent martial training. This daughter, due to her dragon roar physique, was not suited for cultivation just yet. So Lu Changsheng had her continue her martial training to temper her physical body. Upon hearing her father's words, Lu Lingyi immediately demonstrated her progress to her old father, throwing 2 punches his way. Good, good, good. Lu Changsheng praised, saying how great and powerful her punches were. System, lottery draw. After spending time with his daughters, Lu Changsheng thought of the system lottery, silently invoking the command in his mind. Immediately, a light red roulette wheel appeared, spinning with a golden glow. After a few breaths, the gold light landed on the magical treasures category. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the magical treasure, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror. Award has been placed in the system space. The host can check it at any time. Chapter 1030, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. Chapter 1030, Chapter 365, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. A bronze ancient mirror emerged from the great spinning wheel, accompanied by a system notification sound. Another magical treasure? Lu Changsheng raised his eyebrows upon seeing this reward. He had previously won a magical treasure, the Starlight Plate, and now here came another magical treasure. Magic Artifact, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Grade, Top Grade Magical Treasure, Description, a treasured inheritance from the Cave Profound Sect. It allows observation of a person's meridians and acupoints, insights into cultivation techniques, and the flow of their circuits. It can also activate magical treasures and assist in cultivation. Top Grade Magical Treasure? Lu Changsheng was somewhat surprised when he saw the description of the magical treasure. The few magical treasures he had won from the lottery were at most high-quality treasures, like the fate-defying robe. He hadn't expected that this time he would get a top-grade magical treasure. However, judging by the effects, this magical treasure was not for combat purposes but rather an auxiliary treasure. It could observe the state of others, their cultivation techniques, and assist in cultivation. Extract. Lu Changsheng immediately extracted the Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror from the system to check its specific effects. In an instant, an elliptical bronze ancient mirror about 3 feet tall appeared in front of Lu Changsheng. The mirror shone with bright luminescence, and mysterious lotus-shaped patterns adorned its frame, giving it an aura of profound mystery and immense power. Hiss, what a treasure! Lu Changsheng looked at the Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror before him with excitement in his eyes. Although the Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror lacked the ability for combat, just by dropping a person's blood onto the mirror and then shining it upon them, one could reflect all of their conditions. The flesh, meridians, dantian acupoints, and limbs could all be clearly reflected through the Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, leaving no issue undiscovered. During this process, if the person was circulating their cultivation techniques or casting spells, the movement of their techniques, the state of their mana, and more could all be revealed. Moreover, it could also consume a great amount of mana, allowing the mirror to make self-adaptive adjustments to the practitioner's technique circuit. Or if there were any techniques or spells one couldn't learn, the mirror could be used to guide the practitioner into a deeply focused and captivating state to help them learn and comprehend, thus achieving twice the result with half the effort. Having this magical treasure, it will be much more convenient to instruct my children in cultivation in the future. And when I make a breakthrough to core formation, I can fully stimulate this magical treasure to enhance the cultivation level of my children by a whole grade. Lu Changsheng deeply realized the effectiveness of this magical treasure. Although the family had Hong Lian, a nascent soul true lord, to guide cultivation, Hong Lian was now only a spirit soul, usually residing within the ancient beast-taming charm, at most providing simple guidance and answering questions based on nascent soul experience. It was impossible to check each individual's condition and provide targeted instruction. But with this cave mystique treasure mirror, one glance could reflect the condition, body state, and cultivation level of the family's children. By that time, with the information on the mirror, Hong Lian could use her experience as a nascent soul true lord to provide visionary and incisive suggestions. Furthermore, the effect of the mirror to micro-adjust the practitioner's technique circuits for self-adaptation was, in Lu Changsheng's view, astonishingly remarkable. Currently, only Lu Miaoge and Bai Ling had undergone self-adaptive adjustments in their cultivation due to their unique circumstances, perfectly aligning with their own situation. Others, including himself, had not encountered this situation. But the cave mystique treasure mirror could carry out simple deductions based on each person's situation, making simple self-adaptive micro-adjustments so that the effect of cultivation could be optimized. Even if the adjustment and adaptation only improved the efficiency of cultivation by 1%, over time, the result would be tremendously impressive. However, the cave mystique treasure mirror probably won't have much effect on me, right? Lu Changxing thought about the yin-yang creation scripture he was cultivating. Although the effect of the cave mystique treasure mirror was astonishing, it was, after all, just a magical treasure. It was unlikely to be able to adjust a cultivation technique of the caliber of the yin-yang creation scripture. Plus, he had system-assisted cultivation, which was already quite perfect. But after core formation, this shouldn't be much of a problem. Moreover, even the cave mystique treasure mirror probably couldn't surmise the yin-yang creation scripture better than I can myself. Lu Changxing shook his head, not worried about these details. The issue of compatibility with cultivation techniques was mainly a problem in the early stages. Once a cultivator broke through to core formation, they would have a deep understanding of cultivation and their unique interpretations. On the path to nascent soul, they would adjust according to their own body structure, understanding of the Great Tao, and even the cultivation environment, so that the technique perfectly aligned with themselves. Thus after core formation, even if practicing the same technique, differences would gradually appear among those from the same sect. Lu Changxing took the cave mystique treasure mirror, returned to the Changxing Hall, and began to refine this top-grade magical treasure. At Golden Dragon Ridge, within the Jin family, patriarch, now that Bihu Mountain has been moving many of its industries towards White Tiger Mountain, it will become increasingly difficult for us to reclaim White Tiger Mountain in the future. The patriarch of Jin family spoke respectfully to his ancestor. Over the years, he had been paying close attention to the movements of Bihu Mountain, from the early matters involving Lu Qingshan to last year's incident with Xia Zhaoyang, which made him more and more wary of Bihu Mountain. So fast. The growth rate of Bihu Mountain was incredibly fast. Although the family had only gained Lu Miaoyun, a foundation establishment cultivator, in recent years, outside the family, besides the prodigious son Lu Qingshan, there were also Zhao Qingqing and Xia Zhaoyang at the Qingyan sect, two foundation establishment cultivators. And he had also learned that Lu Changxing had a deep relationship with Fairy Shiyu of Qingyan sect, a nascent soul immortal and sister to his master. Chapter 1031, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. Chapter 1031, Chapter 365, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. To be honest, he wasn't too keen on making an enemy of Bai Lake Mountain now. He just wanted to reclaim White Tiger Mountain for his own family. Let's wait regarding the matter of White Tiger Mountain, ancestor of Jin family said calmly. He was more wary of Bai Lake Mountain and the circumstances of Lu Changxing and his wife than many others in his family. Initially, he wanted to use another's hand to kill, elevating Bai Lake Mountain, so that beast-taming Su family would take notice of Lu clan's couple. Who would have expected that beast-taming Su family would have such a catastrophe, resulting in the death of a false core patriarch? This caused the third ancestor of Su family to have no leisure to concern themselves with Lu Changxing. Otherwise, if Lu Changxing were to die, Bai Lake Mountain would no longer be a concern. Yes, Patriarch. Patriarch of Jin family responded respectfully. As the patriarch of Jin family, he knew that the Great Elder, because of the previous incident with By Lake Mountain, had given up trying for core formation and was preparing to condense a false core. Although the false core was far from comparable to nascent soul immortals, with the preparations made by the family over the years, the Great Elder had at least a 50% certainty of condensing a false core. Once he condensed the false core, it would be enough to break the current deadlock in the family, and take another step forward. Continue to observe the situation of By Lake Mountain, or use White Tiger Mountain to probe them. These years, By Lake Mountain, Lu clan couple has been too calm. This Lu Changxing does not seem like someone who is content. This time, their moving businesses to White Tiger Mountain might have some hidden purpose. Ancestor of Jin family spoke. Back then, he went to By Lake Mountain with Jin Zan to present gifts and apologize, raising By Lake Mountain's status. Since then, By Lake Mountain seemed to realize being too high profile and has been very low-key these years. The occupation of White Tiger Mountain had been in a semi-abandoned state until now they began to operate, arousing his suspicions. Yes, Patriarch. Patriarch of Jin family immediately replied. He came to see the Patriarch this time to report this matter, suspecting that By Lake Mountain had some kind of intention. Early on, once Lu Changxing had taken over By Lake Mountain, he would stir up trouble every few years. But these years, not only has there been no movement, but even marrying and having children had slowed down. Like with Lu Qingshan, Xia Zhaoyang, and Xiao Xia, if he hadn't been paying attention to By Lake Mountain and Lu Changxing, he wouldn't have known about these matters at all. Therefore, he suspected that By Lake Mountain, like his own family, was secretly plotting and accumulating strength, not wanting to draw attention to themselves. Patriarch Qingyun takes his leave. Then, Patriarch of Jin family took his leave. He prepared to probe By Lake Mountain through White Tiger Mountain, to see what Lu Changxing was really scheming. Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. Changxing Hall. Lu Changxing was refining the cave mystique treasure mirror. Suddenly, he sensed a pure surge of mana entering his chi ocean core. He knew one of his children had broken through to the 9th level energy refinement. As for his children's breakthrough to the 9th level energy refinement, he was still quite concerning. After all, the 9th level of energy refinement meant they needed to prepare for foundation establishment, and he, as their father, would have to prepare the foundation establishment elixir. Wangshu. Lu Changxing first thought of his daughter Lu Wangshu and glanced at the system interface. Name, Lu Wangshu, lifespan, 26 of 119, talent, 4th grade spiritual root, blood talisman spiritual body, superior spirit body, cultivation level, 8th level energy refinement, talent, talisman path compatibility, 89%. Not Wangshu? Lu Changxing was surprised. He hadn't expected it wasn't his daughter Lu Wangshu who broke through to the 9th level energy refinement. He continued looking at other children of his who were cultivating quickly. Name, Nangong Yao Yao, lifespan, 20/141, talent, 2nd grade spiritual root, flawless heavenly fragrance body, top level spiritual body, cultivation level, 9th level energy refinement, talent, charm technique compatibility, 89%. Yao Yao has reached the 9th level energy refinement. Lu Changxing looked at the system panel before him, somewhat surprised and reflective. Unbeknownst to him, this daughter he had not yet met had reached the 9th level energy refinement. And judging by the cultivation talent of this daughter, she could probably break through foundation establishment in 2 to 3 years. Such cultivation talent was the fastest among all his children. He anticipated that only Lu Lingxiao in the future might be comparable to her. However, Nangong Yao Yao's speed in cultivation, aside from her astonishing talent, probably had a lot to do with Nangong Mili's nurturing. Sigh. Lu Changxing had thought about visiting Jin Kingdom to meet this daughter after forming his core. But at his current pace, reaching core formation would probably take another decade or so. By that time, the daughter would have already broken through foundation establishment and her personality set. Sigh. Lu Changxing sighed again and closed his eyes to continue refining his cave mystique treasure mirror. 2 months later, Lu Changxing observed the cave mystique treasure mirror floating before his eyes. After more than 3 months, he had finally succeeded in refining the magical treasure. Whoosh! Lu Changxing forced out a drop of essence blood, which flew towards the cave mystique treasure mirror. Hum! As the treasure mirror swallowed the drop of essence blood, radiant light flowed like a pure and sacred 5-colored lotus beginning to bloom. Immediately, an outline of a human body slowly emerged on the mirror's surface. Like a 3D human model, lacking specific facial features. It displayed the skin, muscles, blood flow, veins, mana, dantian, and acupoints in different colors, clearly visible to the observer. So this is my Bodhi's condition? Flawless skin and muscles, robust blood flow like rivers, strong mana, but in the Qi ocean core there are 2 different kinds of mana, showing that the 7 luminaries' mana is transitioning into yin-yang magic power. Lu Changxing looked at the situation inside the cave mystique treasure mirror and could tell his physique and body were perfect without any blemishes or hidden injuries. Then, he attempted to circulate the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture. In the cave mystique treasure mirror, a stream of 7 luminaries' mana flowed through his inner veins and acupoints. Chapter 1032, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. _4 Chapter 1032, Chapter 365, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. _4 The process was incredibly smooth, seamless, and without the slightest delay or pause, indicating his mana and physical body were in perfect harmony, and his cultivation had no issues. Tisk, tsk, it's just like me. Lu Changsheng's face revealed a hint of a smile. Then, with his fingers together, he executed the 7 luminaries' sword Qi. In the reflection of the cave mystique treasure mirror, a stream of mana traveled from the dantian through the meridians and instantly condensed into a sharp sword Qi at his fingertips. This process was also exceptionally smooth and flowing. However, when Lu Changxing switched to a technique that he had not obtained through the system but had studied previously, his mana became significantly stiffer and not as practiced and smooth as before. This magical treasure truly is a treasure for transmitting teachings. Lu Changxing nodded in appreciation. Afterward, he wanted to try to activate the cave mystique treasure mirror to deduce the state of his cultivation technique. But when mana surged into the cave mystique treasure mirror, it was like a stone sinking into the sea. It merely nudged the magical treasure without being able to activate this effect. This made Lu Changxing realize that even though he had broken through to core formation, using the treasure mirror to correct others' cultivation techniques was not easy and required a substantial amount of mana. The other effect of the treasure mirror, the ability to guide others in their cultivation through the mirror disciple, likewise required great magical power to sustain. Without delay, Lu Changxing left the Changxing Hall and found his wife, Lu Miaoyun. He asked her to notify all the Lu family disciples who had begun their cultivation to come. He wanted to inspect their cultivation status. Lu Miaoyun, although not knowing why Lu Changxing had suddenly taken such an interest, did not ask more questions and immediately had their son, Lu Yun, gather the family disciples. Before long, 37 Lu family disciples lined up in a queue, excluding the 28 children who were out, all looking at Lu Changxing, their father and grandfather, with a mix of nervousness and trepidation. After all, Lu Changxing had never conducted such a surprise inspection of their cultivation status. Usually, he would only take an interest and ask about it at family banquets, or under certain circumstances. Many concubines, hearing the news, came to watch, wanting to know what was happening. They worried that if their children's cultivation was poor, or performance lacking, it would displease Lu Changxing. "Yuner, let's start with you," said Lu Changxing, looking at his son, Lu Yun. Now that Lu Pingan, Lu Xianji, Lu Chuanjin, Lu Rui, and others were all out, Lu Yun was the eldest among these children. "Yes, father," Lu Yun walked up to Lu Changxing. Lu Changxing did not use the cave mystique treasure mirror right away. Instead, he shrunk it to the size of a palm and held it in his hand, asking Lu Yun to drop a drop of essence blood on it. Lu Yun did not hesitate. A magical sword appeared in his hand. He cut his finger and let a drop of essence blood fall onto the cave mystique treasure mirror. Instantly, Lu Changxing activated the cave mystique treasure mirror and saw an image of his son. He could clearly see every detail of his son's body, meridians, dantian, and mana. Lu Yun's image was not as flawless and radiant with golden light as his own. It had several small red spots, indicating areas of concern. They might have originated from issues during cultivation, fighting techniques, childhood bumps and bruises, or even daily habits. Run your cultivation technique, Lu Changxing said to Lu Yun. As expected, as Lu Yun operated his cultivation technique, the flow of mana would clearly slow down a bit at the red spots, not flowing as smoothly as it should. Lu Yun himself might not have noticed these nuances in his daily practice. But under the reflection of the cave mystique treasure mirror, Lu Changxing could see everything clearly. Your spiritual energy at the celestial spring acupoint and the extreme spring acupoint is somewhat uncomfortable. Later, go to the medical pavilion for treatment and nourishment. During your daily sitting cultivation, let spiritual power linger a bit longer, about 3 breaths at these few spots, Lu Changxing spoke up, offering guidance on his son's current situation. The issues were there, but they were not severe. After all, with guidance from Hong Lian, he occasionally paid attention to the cultivation status of his children. If the cave mystique treasure mirror had detected a pile of problems, he and Hong Lian might as well have gone and banged their heads against tofu. Now, for him and Hong Lian, the cave mystique treasure mirror served to identify and fix deficiencies. It made their children's cultivation as close to perfect as possible. Once he broke through to core formation, he would be able to use the cave mystique treasure mirror to transmit teachings and allow their cultivation techniques to adapt accordingly, reaching true perfection. Celestial spring acupoint, extreme spring acupoint? Lu Yun was unaware of the issues in these areas. However, he trusted his father's words completely, without any doubt, and respectfully responded, "Yes, father." Immediately, the next son stepped forward. Lu Changxing instructed him to do as Lu Yun did, then said, "You should consume a breakthrough elixir for the realm you're attempting to break through, right? Your foundation is still somewhat shaky. You need to solidify your foundation well in the coming time." Then, during sitting cultivation and while running your cultivation technique, linger a bit longer at the shoulder center shu, fanning wind, at several points. Wait until you are at the peak of the 7th level before rushing to break through. Exchange for a 3 sons elixir from the family, then continue your cultivation. After checking his son's condition, Lu Changxing quickly offered pinpoint advice. Not only was he proficient in a multitude of cultivation techniques, but as a second-order alchemist, he also had a basic understanding of pharmacology. "Thank you, father." The son exhaled in relief and nodded in agreement. Thus, one by one, the children lined up and approached. Lu Changxing gave them advice on their physical condition and some issues in their cultivation. All the wives and Lu family disciples were surprised. They all looked at their father, their grandfather, with astonishment and doubt. Lu Miaoyun, seeing this situation, guessed that her husband must have obtained some treasure or had cultivated some new technique and magical powers. Otherwise, her husband wouldn't have possessed such an astonishing capability before. This time, their son Lu Lingxiao also came to line up. Lu Changxing checked his condition through the cave mystique treasure mirror. The son's body had no problems at all. Even his eyes and left hand shimmered with golden specks, indicating that his cultivation of eye and left hand techniques and magical powers was extraordinary. It took a whole day for Lu Changxing to examine all his children's conditions. They all had no major problems, at most some minor ones. It showed that Hong Lian was truly exceptional. There was no need for a detailed check on each person's condition. By resolving some issues they encountered during their daily cultivation practice, he could solve most of their problems. This checkup also allowed Lu Changxing to gain a detailed understanding of the cultivation progress of all his family's disciples. For example, his son Lu Qingxian was progressing slightly faster in his cultivation than his daughter Lu Wangshu. It was estimated that he would be able to break through to the 9th level of qi refinement in another 2 months. But this was normal. This son, with a 4th grade spiritual root, was much more diligent and hardworking than Lu Wangshu in cultivation and didn't need to be distracted by other things. Immediately after, Lu Changxing told Lu Miaoyan that from now on, every 6 months when instructing cultivation, she should inform him. He would examine and guide the Lu family disciples' cultivation progress with Hong Lian. 3 months later. Congratulations, host. 5 of your children have broken through to the 9th level of Qi refinement, granting you 1 lottery draw opportunity. 5 and there's child money already? Could this be related to the number of times Qi is channeled into the body? Lu Changsheng's eyebrows rose as he heard the system's prompt. He guessed it must be his son Lu Qingxian who had broken through to the 9th level of Qi refinement. Upon checking the system interface, it was indeed the case. Although this son had only just made a breakthrough, Lu Changxing planned to refine the second batch of foundation establishment elixirs after some time. Over the years, the family had already gathered all the auxiliary ingredients for the foundation establishment elixir, ready to start alchemy at any time. System, draw a prize. Having obtained a cave mystique treasure mirror not long ago, Lu Changxing was now very interested in magical treasures. He was thinking about getting another treasure like the Illusion Heart platform from Qingyun's sect, a soul-searching magical treasure. Or another kind of magical treasure that could nurture and temper the family's disciples. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining an exotic treasure, insect nest bag. Reward has been issued to the system space. Host can check it at any time. A silver gray bag with a fierce pattern emerged from the roulette wheel, accompanied by a system notification sound. An exotic treasure? Lu Changxing raised his eyebrows upon seeing this reward. He was quite fond of exotic treasures. Because exotic treasures had no usage restrictions, and most of their effects were quite good. It was just that this particular exotic treasure seemed a bit unorthodox. With a slight stir in his mind, Lu Changxing looked towards the system space. Exotic treasure, insect nest bag, grade, 3rd rank, description, suitable for the survival of most spiritual insects. If demon beast flesh and blood are thrown in, the insect nest bag will automatically refine it, forming flesh and blood bug pellets that can accelerate the propagation and growth of spiritual insects. It's a bit lackluster. Lu Changxing shook his head after reading the introduction to this exotic treasure. In his early years, due to Meng Xiaocan's influence, he had taken an interest in insect control. But gradually, he lost this interest. Also, possessing the ancient beast taming charm, if he really wanted to raise spiritual insects, he could completely let Hong Lian help with the breeding. After all, the effect of the insect nest bag was not only similar, but the ancient beast taming charm was many times better. So in his view, although the insect nest bag was nice, it was a rather superfluous treasure. And the family doesn't seem to have any insect control inheritance, nor does anyone seem to have a talent for it. Lu Changxing let out a sigh. However, the next moment, his eyes narrowed slightly as he suddenly thought of one of his sons. Chapter 1033, The Path of Insect Control, 4th Elder's Joyful Tragedy. Chapter 1033, Chapter 366, The Path of Insect Control, 4th Elder's Joyful Tragedy. Bihu Lake Mountain, Lu Family Academy. The cultivation world is full of killing and danger. One misstep and you could perish, your path to immortality cut short. How should we respond? How to avoid danger? Lu Qinsha, you speak first. The lecturer looked at an 11 or 12-year-old boy, with rosy lips, white teeth, and a handsome face. First, we should avoid getting involved in trouble or entangled with strange people and situations, and the best way is simply to stay at home and not go out. Lu Qinsha stood up and said so. Ha ha ha, never leave home for a lifetime. If you want to cultivate, unless you have the rumored heavenly spiritual root, without an opportunity or a stroke of fortune, how can you succeed in cultivation? Youngsters of the same age in the academy laughed. Second, it is the trump cards, the methods. The cultivation world is so dangerous, one must have sufficient trump cards, methods unknown to others, so that we can solve the dangers and troubles we may encounter with those of the same realm. Third, always be ready to run away, even if you must go out seeking opportunities, don't risk your life. Lu Qinsha, unconcerned by the look in others' eyes, said so. This question was one he had once asked his father, and it was the answer his father had given him. Upon hearing this, the lecturer fell silent for a moment before speaking. Lu Qinsha makes a good point. While cultivation requires a spirit of enterprise, one's own safety must always come first. After class ended, Lu Qinsha came to the Lu family's library alone. Because Lu Changxing had liked to read in his earlier years, learning about the cultivation world, he believed all his children should read widely. Therefore, he had moved all the common, marketplace available books on cultivation back to his home, placing them in the library. It could be said that the collection in the Lu family's library was more complete than most marketplaces' bookstores. Lu Qinsha liked to come to the library and read whenever he had spare time. Not that he truly enjoyed reading. On one hand, his personality was somewhat reclusive, with not many friends, preferring to be alone. On the other hand, it was his somewhat unfamiliar memory of his mother telling him to listen to his father and try his best to gain his father's favor. He wanted to perform well in front of his father, to be noticed by him. Foundation establishment, core formation, nascent soul, these divine skills are indeed profound. It's just a pity that I'm only in the chi refinement realm, just getting a glimpse of the path. Well, these old topics aren't very interesting to look at anyway. Lu Qinsha casually read books, came across a manual recording the realms of cultivation, shook his head, and mused under his breath. He had already channeled qi into his body and naturally knew about the major realms of cultivation. But he was also aware that those who could cultivate to the foundation establishment stage were rare. Even with his 5th grade spiritual root and good talent, he did not dare to say that he could establish his foundation in the future. Path of the insect control, myriad insects gathering, in the thousands and millions, able to destroy cities and pull down strongholds, invincible in all directions. A million fierce insects could even shake the heavens, iron fire ants, a gregarious, fierce insect that devours metals and nature's spiritual energy, extremely vicious, immune to water and fire, likes to cluster in spherical forms, 9 venom bee, born in the 9 lands, an ancient mutant bee that gathers in swarms, can spray purple poison gas, and whoever is stung by its 9-tailed bee sting will die instantly. Huishan worm, a parasitic and peculiar insect, feeds on the spirits and souls of others, and as soon as it suffers a divine sense attack, it immediately releases a special poison attacking the source: sky-devouring locust, blood jade spider, iron fire ant, red flame scorpion. My 1,000-legged centipede is also in this book. Lu Qinsha found this unknown manual of rare insects quite interesting. His cultivation technique was called the beast technique, and he was going to pursue the path of beast taming. Insect control was very close to beast taming, and could even be considered as a branch of beast taming. Moreover, when he began his cultivation, his mother had given him a 1,000-legged centipede with Earth-grade bloodline. It was also for this reason that he realized his often absent mother was extraordinary. After all, a demon beast with Earth-grade bloodline, most people did not have the capability and wealth to acquire one. If only my 1,000-legged centipede were a gregarious fierce insect, then according to this book, a chi refinement cultivator with hundreds or thousands of fierce insects could also assassinate a foundation-building great cultivator. After finishing the book, Lu Qinsha sighed to himself. Qinsha. Just then, suddenly a gentle voice sounded at Lu Qinsha's ear. He turned abruptly, looking to see a handsome young man dressed in a green robe standing not too far away. He immediately shook, saluted with clasped hands and said, "Your son pays his respects to father. Are you interested in the way of insect control?" Lu Changxing asked his son. This son of his had a 5th-grade spiritual root, inheriting some of Su Ruian's talent for beast taming. Thus, when Hong Lian taught the Lu family's disciples to cultivate, she expressed that this child had a good talent for beast taming. And Su Ruian also sent her son a 1,000-legged centipede with a mid-grade Earth-level bloodline. I just happened across it and was getting to know it a little. Lu Qinsha did not know what his father had come to see him for and was quite constrained. If you are interested in the way of insect control, you can delve into it. Lu Zhang smiled warmly and produced a silver-gray bag emblazoned with layers of ferocious patterns, bound with red strings. This bag is called an insect nest bag and is very suitable for housing spiritual insects. Normally, when feeding the insects, just put the flesh and blood of demon beasts into the bag, and it will automatically form flesh and blood bug pellets, accelerating the growth and reproduction of the spiritual insects. If you're interested, and perform well in the path of insect control, then this bag will be yours. Lu Zhang tossed the bag to his son and said this. Insect control could be considered a branch of beast taming. If his son showed good talent on the path of insect control, Lu Zhang thought of giving the insect nest bag to him. After all, for foundation establishment cultivators, this bead was truly a top-tier treasure. Promptly, Lu Changxing continued to meditate, stabilizing the mana he had just broken through. 5 days later, Lu Changxing exited the cave mansion and looked at the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus in the spiritual spring. Besides the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, there were also 3 heavenly origin precious lotuses. These were additional ones that Xiao Xia had delivered 2 years ago. However, Lu Changxing was focusing all his efforts on cultivating the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, so these 3 lotuses showed little change. It seems like the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus might not advance to Tianyuan Lotus before I break through core formation. How about I use the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus for now and swap it out once the Tianyuan Lotus is cultivated? Lu Changxing looked at the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus in front of him, rubbed his chin, and pondered. Although advancing it to Tianyuan Lotus could not be better, the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus was sufficient for his current stage of use. Let's nurture it for 3 more years, then he'll harvest and cultivate the next one. Lu Changxing thought to himself, walked out of Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven, and visited the Lu family mansion to see Xia Zizhu. 3 months ago, the first child after Xia Zizhu's foundation establishment was born. Unfortunately, this child only had a 5th grade spiritual root. This made the hopeful Lu Changxing sigh slightly. However, considering the spirit-nurturing physique was just an ordinary spiritual body, being able to give all children spiritual roots and enhance their quality was already remarkable. How could one expect a high-quality spiritual root in just one birth? It had already been very fortunate to have Lu Xingchen born years ago. Therefore, Lu Changxing planned to have more children with Xia Zizhu after his breakthrough to core formation. On one hand, the children born then would surely have better talents. On the other hand, Xia Zizhu had already given birth to 5 children. He couldn't possibly let her keep bearing children endlessly just because of her unique physique. Besides, giving birth after core formation would also be strenuous for Xia Zizhu, requiring proper recuperation. Qingzhou Mountain. Ever since Lu Changxing established Blue Lake Mountain Lu family, Qingzhou Mountain had also been prospering. Although the family only had Lu Yuanzhong and Lu Muping, 2 foundation establishment cultivators, stationed there, after so many years of development, fresh blood and a core force had been replenished in the family. Moreover, with the foundation establishment elixirs given by Lu Changxing, half sold, half donated 5 years ago, Qingzhou Mountain could cultivate a 3rd foundation establishment great cultivator any time it wished. However, Lu Yuanzhong was very cautious about the selection of the family's 3rd foundation establishment cultivator. Now, with him and Lu Muping stationed there, 100 years of peace was assured. Thus, he believed the 3rd foundation establishment cultivator had to be a tiger-like and wolf-like aggressive leader, not another conservative one. Only in this way could their Qingzhou Mountain step further in the future, and not just rely on Blue Lake Mountain. In Qingzhou Valley, a small courtyard full of Qingling bamboo, the 4th elder was basking in the sun on a reclining chair. She was now 124 years old. Though energy refining cultivators could live to 120, very few actually reached this age. If not for the 2nd rank lifespan extension pill given by Lu Changxing, considering the effort she put into researching and drawing talismans in her youth, it would have been hard to reach this age. Now, regardless of age or status, she was truly an elder in Qingzhou Mountain. I miss Changxing, Yuner, The old lady basking on the reclining chair squinted her cloudy eyes, feeling her sight blur slightly, and suddenly murmured softly. "Great ancestor, what did you say?" The younger generation of the Lu family immediately came closer to inquire, attending by her side. Chapter 1035, The Way of Insect Control, Fourth Elder's Joyous Bereavement. Chapter 1035, Chapter 366, The Way of Insect Control, Fourth Elder's Joyous Bereavement. The fourth elder slightly turned his head to look at the younger generation beside him, his voice louder by a few degrees. Feeble and exhausted, he said, "I miss Changsheng and Yuner. I want to see Changsheng and Yuner." Lu Xuanya, upon hearing the words of her great-grandmother, immediately understood that she was referring to her own grandfather and grandmother. Her grandfather usually stayed indoors and only occasionally ventured out to visit Qingzhou Mountain. As for her grandmother, for some reason, she had not come to Qingzhou Mountain for almost 20 years. If it were not for the enduring good relations between the two families, she would have suspected that her grandmother had some dispute with Qingzhou Mountain, which was why she never came. She was just about to say that her grandparents and the others were not at Qingzhou Mountain and it might take some days before they could come. But seeing the fourth elder's withered and gaunt face flushing slightly, her cloudy and dim eyes brightened a bit, as if imploringly gazing at her, her heart abruptly missed a beat. Her father Lu Yun had told her and her siblings to frequently visit Qingzhou Mountain to keep their ancestor company, having informed them that the fourth elder had not much time left. Now, seeing the ancestor in such a state, she immediately thought of the phenomenon known as rallying before death. "Ancestor, please wait, I will go right away to inform grandfather and grandmother to come." The girl's heart quivered, her eyes reddened, and she spoke with pursed lips. Then, she hastily conveyed the message to Lu Yuanding and others at Qingzhou Mountain, and sent a message to her father. By Lake Mountain. Lu Changsheng was engaged in alchemy when his son Lu Yun came to report. A message had arrived from Qingzhou Mountain, the fourth elder's light was nearly out, the end was near. "Has your mother received the message?" Lu Changsheng, after a moment of silence, asked. Birth, aging, illness, and death are the norm in life. He had consistently visited the fourth elder on Qingzhou Mountain over the years. He could clearly see that her lifespan was coming to an end. Now, the day had inevitably come. "I haven't informed mother yet," Lu Yun said, his face heavy with sorrow. He knew his mother could not leave by Lake Mountain because of the cultivation technique she practiced. If his grandmother were to learn of her own great-grandmother's impending death and be unable to visit her for the last time, her heart would surely be overcome with grief. "I'll go ahead." Lu Changsheng took a deep breath and said. He prepared to rush to Qingzhou Mountain to see the fourth elder for the last time and bring her to Bai Lake Mountain. His wife Lu Miaoyun was raised by the fourth elder from a young age, and they shared a deep bond. If she could not even see the elder for one last time, there would be an indelible pain and bitterness in her heart, and it might even lead to the emergence of a heart demon. "Yes, father." Lu Yun understood his father's intent. The next moment, he saw his father step directly out of the alchemy chamber, then transform into an escape light and leave by Lake Mountain. Sigh. Lu Yun watched his father's departing figure, heaving a deep sigh, his heart filled with an inexplicable bitterness. Cultivation, in the end, nobody can escape the pain of parting by life and death. The stronger the cultivator, the more they must endure and face. "But I suppose, in the future, I will likely go ahead of my parents." Lu Yun gazed at the azure sky, feeling a wave of sadness. The life of a cultivator is not only about facing countless life and death battles but also about enduring the partings and deaths of loved ones and friends. It is for this very reason, as cultivators grow older, their demeanor often becomes more detached. It is not because they are naturally indifferent. It's because they have experienced too much. An hour later. Lu Changsheng arrived at Qingzhou Mountain, riding on the Starlight Plate. Uncle, grandfather. At this time, quite a few people were already waiting at the mountain gate. Upon seeing Lu Changsheng, they stepped forward and respectfully paid their respects. Lu Changxing did not engage in much small talk with them, simply acknowledging their greeting before going straight to Qingzhou Valley, to the fourth elder's courtyard. Changxing, uncle. Changxing, you've come. Lu Yuanding and others were somewhat surprised by his speed when they saw Lu Changxing had hurried over. At this time, Lu Miaoga had also rushed over from Red Leaf Valley Marketplace, and was using Tai True Water to nourish the fourth elder's physical body. But at this moment, the fourth elder's visage was gaunt, her body not only exuded an atmosphere of deep twilight but also a dense aura of death. This was the end of her lifespan, unless there was a top-tier treasure capable of prolonging life. There was no reversing her fate. Changxing, the fourth elder, seeing the young man who resembled an orchid and pine inside, her cloudy eyes gleaming faintly, said with a hoarse and aged voice, tremblingly stretching forth her withered arm. "Grandmother, I'm here." Lu Changxing's heart felt heavy as he stepped forward to take the fourth elder's hand. Even though he had long known of this day, this moment, and had been mentally prepared, the sight of the old lady on her deathbed still caused an unspeakable sadness in his heart. "Changxing, don't be sad. Grandmother is content and happy to have lived to see you and Miaoyun, to see the family like this," the fourth elder, her eyes cloudy, her mouth opening and closing, kept saying, "You and Miaoyun, Miaoga, must take good care of yourselves. It's a pity grandmother won't see the day you both become great cultivators. Little Yun has a sincere nature, you as a father must take good care of him. If Qingzhou Mountain ever encounters trouble in the future, if you can help, then do lend them a hand." Although she lived only to be 124 years old, by that age, she had already experienced many, many things. She not only witnessed the rise and fall of her family but also watched her children, family elders, and peers of her age pass away one by one. Now, in all of Qingzhou Mountain, there was no longer anyone of her generation left. Hence, the only concerns and attachments left in her heart were for Lu Changxing, Lu Miaoyun, and the family that had raised and cared for her. "Grandmother, rest assured, I will certainly take good care of Miaoyun, sister Miaoga, and little Yun. As long as I, Lu Changxing, am alive, Qingzhou Mountain will always stand." Grandma, upon seeing the fourth elder, Lu Miaoyun was overwhelmed with grief, crying inconsolably. The elder was the person she was closest to. In these years, she couldn't go out to visit Qingzhou Mountain, only asking her children to visit the elder on her behalf. And as the elder grew older, he didn't like to travel much, making infrequent visits to Bihu Lake Mountain, so in these years, the two didn't meet often. Now that they met again, it was a parting in life and death. Yuner, the fourth elder, held her granddaughter's hand, softly muttering words of care and concern, and did the same for the siblings Lu Yun and Lu Yu. She had no more attachments, only unwillingness to let go of her concerns for the family and the younger generation. As night approached, Lu Changxing saw the elder's face become peaceful as her eyes closed, the last bit of life force dissipating. He sighed. He took a few steps back and bowed deeply. "Grandma." Lu Miaoyun and the others, seeing this scene, turned red-eyed, weeping loudly, and crying tears. Afterward, they followed the fourth elder's last wish, taking her remains to Qingzhou Mountain's ancestral hall, holding an extravagant mourning ceremony. The funeral was conducted with great pomp. It did not seem like the death of an energy-refining cultivator. Not only did Bihu Lake Mountain wear white mourning clothes, but many foundation establishment families from the surrounding area also came to offer incense and pay their respects. This was a large, chain escort business operating extensively. Ordinary cultivators, as long as they had a clean background and some strength, could register as escort guards at the Tianwei Escort Agency and accept escort missions. Places like Bihu Mountain and White Tiger Mountain, due to business needs, had many dealings with the Tianwei Escort Agency. This matter doesn't concern you White Tiger Mountain dwellers. Don't unnecessary trouble for yourselves. One of the conical-hatted Foundation establishment cultivators coldly snorted. "Please, Daoist, lend a hand, I have a commission to fulfill. If you can help, there will be a generous reward from our Tianwei escort agency." The pursued tall cultivator continued to shout, his voice urgent and desperate, with a plea for help. "I don't care who you are or where you're from, this place is within the bounds of White Tiger Mountain. Leave at once, or you will bear the consequences." Lu Qingsong, facing the situation, spoke with a chilling expression, uttering a stern command. He seemed to realize that, being merely an energy-refining cultivator, such words might not be deterrent enough. At that moment, the entire mountain protection array of White Tiger Mountain fully activated, and in the sky above, it appeared as if a fierce tiger was crouching, fierce and majestic, roaring at the three men with overwhelming presence. "Our Tianwei escort agency has quite a bit of business with your White Tiger Mountain and Bihu Mountain. In such circumstances, you would stand by and let robber cultivators do as they please?" Upon hearing this, the pursued Foundation establishment cultivator immediately cried out in rage and despair. However, Lu Qingsong remained indifferent to such words and continued with an icy tone, "I'll say it again, leave the vicinity of White Tiger Mountain immediately, otherwise, bear the consequences." During his words, a ghostly light emerged from the depths of White Tiger Mountain, roaring towards the sky. It was the 9 Netherhound that guarded White Tiger Mountain. In past years, every time minor mischief occurred at White Tiger Mountain, Lu Qingsong and the 9 Netherhound would take care of it. Thus, surrounding families were well aware that White Tiger Mountain had a second-order spiritual beast as its guardian. Seeing this situation, the pursued Foundation establishment cultivator could only maneuver his magic artifact with an ugly expression and escape towards the mountain range along the edge of White Tiger Mountain. Moments later, after seeing the three men leave, Lu Qingsong spoke to the patrolling cultivators, "Be extra vigilant during this time. At the first sign of anything amiss, activate the Great Formation." In previous years, during demon subjugation orders, Lu Qingsong had heard of family forces being infiltrated by robbers allying with cultivators and using disguises to breach through internal defenses to pillage. After all, cultivation families were protected by great formations, and unless there were internal issues, they were hard to break through in a short amount of time. And robber cultivators typically value speed in their battles and do not dare to engage with other family forces for too long. If unable to break through the Great Formation, they would retreat immediately. "We understand." The patrolling station cultivators nodded in agreement. They all knew the cultivation world had not been very stable these years. Meanwhile, the 3 Foundation establishment cultivators who had just engaged in battle halted their fight upon entering a dense forest. It seems White Tiger Mountain is still guarded only by a second-order monster beast. Not bad. Our probing has shown that no Foundation establishment cultivators from White Tiger Mountain appeared. It seems the situation is the same as before. Now that this is settled, shall we proceed with the next step? The 3 looked at each other and spoke. Their recent actions were naturally a probe against White Tiger Mountain. To see if White Tiger Mountain was indeed only guarded by a second-order spiritual beast as their intel suggested. If it truly was only the beast, they would not hesitate to make their move. Moreover, if they managed to infiltrate White Tiger Mountain with a Foundation establishment cultivator, they could easily breach the mountain protection array from within and without. Chapter 1038, 3 million sword cultivators in the world, must lower their eyes when they see me. Chapter 1038, Chapter 367, 3 million sword cultivators in the world, must lower their eyes when they see me. Lu Qingsong returned to White Tiger Peak. A young man with a firm and robust appearance approached him, asking, "Qingsong, what's the situation?" "Big brother." As soon as he saw the young man, Lu Qingsong called out and then said, "It should just be a passing Foundation establishment cultivator, but we can't rule out the possibility of a disguise by a robber cultivator. Let me know immediately if there's anything." Lu Pingon nodded. White Tiger Mountain is guarded by the 9 Netherhound, and whenever there's trouble, it's Lu Qingsong who handles it with the 9 Netherhound. Thus, no one yet knows his true strength. Having just witnessed this, knowing that Lu Qingsong could handle it, he simply observed from the sidelines without intervening immediately. Don't worry, big brother. Lu Qingsong smiled, aware of his big brother's generous nature. He had been devoted to cultivation at White Tiger Mountain for years and never involved himself in affairs. However, he always expressed concern at the first sign of trouble, asking if help was needed. Boom boom boom. As the two chatted, just as they were preparing to return and rest, they suddenly heard a series of loud booms. They saw the second-order great formation of White Tiger Mountain surge with spiritual light, flickering uncertainly in the night. This magic aura, it's those three from earlier. Lu Pingan looked towards the mountain gate and sensed through the magic aura that it was those three. It appears those three are unquestionably robber cultivators. Lu Qingsong's expression chilled as he gravely surmised what was happening. The three had pretended to be actors, undoubtedly aiming to infiltrate White Tiger Mountain or to test its defenses. Confirming that the mountain was guarded only by a second-order spiritual beast, they now took aggressive action. After all, although a second-order spiritual beast is powerful, it cannot control the Great Formation. Without a Foundation establishment cultivator to control it, the formation's offensive and defensive capabilities are both reduced by a grade. Over these years, the reason other family forces haven't interfered with White Tiger Mountain, besides the 9 Netherhound, is entirely because of the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. Should White Tiger Mountain face danger, not only the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family but also nearby forces like Tai Mulam Mo family and Shishan Ning family could immediately come to aid. The brothers hurried towards the mountain gate. But they saw those three robber cultivators currently attacking the White Tiger Mountain array. The three were clearly well prepared. Not only did they have a prohibition-breaking artifact as large as a hill bombarding White Tiger Mountain, but they also had prepared a prohibition-breaking talisman. Under such an attack, the array's mist dissipated and its spiritual light dimmed. Big brother, it seems you need to take action now. Seeing this scene, Lu Qingsong's expression became grave, aware that these people were well prepared and that defeating them wouldn't be so simple. Thus, he planned to have Lu Pingan act with the 9 Netherhound. Okay, leave it to me. Lu Pingan responded gravely, his energy slowly revitalizing within him. Big brother, be careful, I will use the formation to support you. Lu Qingsong continued. He knew that his big brother had already broken through the foundation. However, he was unsure of his exact combat strength. So, he thought of having his big brother lead the 9 Netherhound while he controlled the formation to make the three retreat. No need for that. Lu Pingan shook his head, swiftly moving to a courtyard where a dark golden great bow appeared in his hands. He then focused his gaze outside the formation at the Foundation establishment cultivator controlling the Great Mountain magical artifact, raising his hand, pulling the bowstring. Big brother? Lu Qingsong, seeing this, didn't understand what his big brother intended to do. Was he really planning to shoot the Foundation from here? How was that possible? But in the next moment, he was startled by the overwhelming spiritual pressure emanating from his big brother. Lu Pingan seemed to become one with the dark golden great bow, like the womb of a bow. His heart pumped like the drumbeat of a god or demon, thumping rhythmically and bursting with boundless vital energy, slowly forming a golden divine arrow crackling with thunder and lightning on the bowstring without an arrow. Buzz buzz buzz. As the golden divine arrow formed, Lu Pingan's right arm seemed to thunder and lightning with intense disturbances. Qing Song, at a direction of 63 degrees to the southeast of the formation, slightly open a gap in the great array. Holding the dark golden great bow, Lu Pingan, striking as a blazing sun, spoke solemnly. Okay. Hearing this, Lu Qingsong, looking at Lu Pingan before him, swallowed nervously, brought out the array plate and called out, Big brother, ready. Open. Buzz. Instantly, with a surge of wind and thunder, a rainbow-like golden lightning streak pierced through the void, shooting out rapidly. Not good. Be careful. Outside the mountain gate, the three Foundation establishment cultivators attacking the array saw a golden arrow burst through White Tiger Mountain, all of them shocked, feeling a palpable chill. Boom, boom, boom. The cultivator controlling the great mountain magical artifact saw the rolling thunder and golden feathered arrow directly targeting him, immediately cried out in horror, quickly retreating as layers of protective aura formed around him. But the layers of protective aura shattered in an instant, and his entire head exploded like a watermelon under the golden thunderous arrow. Lu Qingsong, seeing this, was completely stunned, totally baffled. He actually shot and killed the Foundation cultivator? And with a single arrow. His big brother had just broken through Foundation establishment a few years ago, hadn't he? How did he possess such formidable power? He was utterly baffled, feeling as if in a dreamlike state. Not just him, the patrolling cultivators of White Tiger Mountain, the two robber cultivators outside the gate, all wore expressions of shock and amazement, wondering what was happening. How did an arrow suddenly appear and kill a Foundation cultivator? Was it a talisman treasure, or some exotic treasure? Second. Magic, this is the magic aura. White Tiger Mountain has a great cultivator of the Foundation establishment late stage. Go, let's leave now. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.